Chapter 833. Su Yun was not an expert in illusions, and with the addition of the imperial battle robe, his resistance to illusions was much weaker than usual. However, he was already prepared, and the two array seals on his body were prepared for this illusion. After successfully dragging Su Yun into the illusion, his entire body froze on the spot, as if he had lost his soul. The Holy Mother of the River took advantage of this time to immediately grab the glowing pill that Xian Ao threw over and stuffed it into her mouth. The pill was fragrant and was filled with spirit energy. It was obvious that it was not an ordinary pill. When the pill entered her body, it immediately started to nourish the spirit core, causing it to produce an unending stream of profound qi, replenishing the body of the Holy Mother of the River. Although she had suffered a loss from Su Yun previously and was at a disadvantage, with the help of this pill, she could completely recover to her peak state in a short period of time. The reappearance of the profound qi gave the Holy Mother of the River a lot more confidence in defeating Su Yun. She raised her head and looked in Su Yun's direction, planning to fight again, but to her surprise, Su Yun had disappeared again. This kid? Where did he go? She was secretly shocked and immediately tensed up as she looked around. Su Yun's speed was too fast. Now that the defensive magic treasure had been broken, she had to ensure her own safety. Although she could be said to be at the great perfection stage in mental techniques, once the spirit cultivator got close to her, it would be fatal for her. But there was no sign of Su Yun around, not even his aura existed. What was going on? The Holy Mother of the River was shocked and suspicious, but very quickly, she suddenly thought of something and turned her head to look in the direction of Xian Ao. At this moment, there was already a figure standing beside Xian Ao. He silently approached, and none of the spirit cultivators around Xian Ao noticed his existence. What? The Holy Mother of the River turned pale with fright. Su Yun had actually dispelled his illusion technique so quickly? Didn't they say that his resistance to illusions was very weak? Xian Ao clenched his teeth, his face perspiring profusely. Although he was extremely angry, he did not dare shout out, because at that moment, the snow-white sword in Su Yun's hand was already firmly placed on his neck, tightly sticking to his skin. As long as he messed around, this sword would not hesitate to cut open his neck and tear apart his soul. Your Majesty! Only then did the surrounding people react. All of their faces turned pale as they nervously surrounded Su Yun. It was too fast. Not only was this fellow's physical body invincible, even his speed was unparalleled. However, Su Yun did not care about these people. He stared at the Holy Mother of the River and said, "Don't try to use your strange mental technique again. Since I can remove it once, I can remove it a second time. If you can't kill me with your first mental technique, then the one who will die will be your king. Don't act recklessly. Don't you dare hurt His Majesty." The Goddess of the Rivers said hurriedly, "If you don't act recklessly, then I won't act recklessly. What do you want?" "Dragon Abyss Pearl." Su Yun directly said these three words. However, the Virgin of the Rivers hesitated. "It seems like a part of a magic treasure is not as important as the life of your king." Since that's the case, then I don't need to be polite. At most, I won't want this Dragon Abyss Pearl anymore. Su Yun laughed coldly, his killing intent flashed. After saying that, he was about to take action. "Wait!" The Goddess of the Rivers shouted. Su Yun stopped moving. The Goddess of the Rivers' gaze fell on Xian Ao. After hesitating for a moment she said, "Sovereign King, this Dragon Abyss Pearl. I never thought that my Jiang country would be so incompetent that I can't even protect a small Dragon Abyss Pearl." Anger and unwillingness floated on Xian Ao's face. As these words fell, everyone present felt ashamed. However, although Su Yun was only one person, he was powerful, and they were helpless against him. "Then are you going to give it to me or not?" Su Yun asked. "You want it? Just take it. Although this item is good, it can't be compared to mine." This time, Xian Ao no longer hesitated and threw out a box. "You're not playing any tricks this time? Since I said so. Then give it to me." "Heh, it was the same before. What you said was like fart. You. I'll believe you this once. If you take out a fake thing to trick me again, I can guarantee that I won't ask you for the Dragon Abyss Pearl again. At that time, I can only go get it myself," Su Yun said indifferently. He had lost his patience. Hearing that, Xian Ao's heart tightened. He opened his mouth, but did not say anything. Su Yun took the box, glanced at the Holy Mother of the River, and then left. He took the box and fled 1,000 miles away, quickly disappearing without a trace. After Su Yun left, Xian Ao and the rest were naturally safe. The Holy Mother of the River and the rest also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although everyone had expected Su Yun to appear on this trip, but after seeing him today, his strength had truly exceeded everyone's imagination. Exchanging blows with such an existence was not an easy task. Xian Ao's expression was extremely ugly. He coldly swept his gaze across the crowd, clenching his fists tightly. The anger on his face was already very obvious. Everyone was nervous as they lowered their heads. Although there were many experts in Jiang country, in front of Su Yun, they were like nothing, unable to do anything. "A bunch of trash. They're all a bunch of trash," he growled. "Sovereign King, please calm your anger." The Holy Mother of the River said in a low voice, "This person has the protection of a divine object, and is not someone who can defeat him with numbers. We still need to find the right medicine and find his weakness in order to break through." "Didn't you say that he has the protection of a divine object and is invulnerable to swords and spears? His defense against the profound technique would be extremely weak, but what about now? Your profound technique is completely useless against him." Xian Ao roared. The Holy Mother of the River did not panic, she only bowed and said, "Sovereign King, this matter is my fault. I do not understand this person's true methods, nor do I know that he is actually on guard. The moment he appeared, I sensed that his body was enveloped by 2 array seal powers. These 2 powers are extremely mystical, they actually resonated with each other, forming a strong spiritual armor that enveloped his body. It seems like this person has long been on guard against us. He should also know his own weakness. So, is this the reason why you failed and humiliated me?" Xian Ao said coldly. "We have no intention of shirking our responsibilities. Jiang He has betrayed the Emperor's kindness and is willing to be punished, but I hope that your Majesty will give Jiang He a chance to atone for his sins. Jiang He will definitely capture that arrogant person alive, take back the Dragon Abyss bead, and present it to your Majesty." The Holy Mother of the River said. "But he has already left. I don't know where he went, so how are you going to capture him alive? Although this person has obtained the Dragon Abyss bead, he will definitely not leave the Jiang Han realm just like that. The Dragon Abyss bead is a product of the Jiang Han realm, and has a soft nature. If it is used in a place where the yin and yang qi is too heavy, the effect will be greatly reduced, and the king of the Han kingdom, Chu Tianba, has never used the Dragon Abyss bead in the past few years, because he knows that the borders of the Han kingdom are not suitable for use, so he wants to invade the cities of our Jiang country, and use the Dragon Abyss bead in the land of soft water in the Jiang country, to maximize its effect, and help him break through his current cultivation. Since this person has seized the Dragon Abyss bead, I believe that he also has some understanding of the Dragon Abyss bead. I believe that he will use the Dragon Abyss bead in the Jiang country, and only leave the Jiang Han realm after digesting it." With that said, Xian Ao's expression turned for the better. He stared at the Holy Mother of the Rivers and asked in a deep voice, "What do you mean?" "Sovereign King, there are only 3 places in the entire Jiang country with soft water. We can send people to search for him. When we find his hiding place, we can immediately send people to capture him and recover everything. But so what if we find it? With your methods, can you still take him down?" Xian Ao's voice rose by an octave as he roared in a low voice. Sovereign King, don't worry. When I fought with this person before, I really didn't know what his methods were. Now that I know, I'm prepared, and I definitely won't fail again. Furthermore, we can choose a time to attack him during this operation, so he definitely won't be able to guard against us. Choose a time. Xian Ao's brows twitched. Choose what time? Naturally, it's when he's preparing to absorb the dragon abyss bead. The Virgin of the River said. Hearing this, Xian Ao fell silent. After an unknown period of time, he finally raised his head and said in a deep voice, "This time we must not fail again. Otherwise, if you can't get back the dragon abyss bead, then bring your heads here. I will definitely not let you down this time." After obtaining the dragon abyss bead, Su Yun galloped all the way towards the borders of the Jiang country. The goddess of the river was right. Absorbing the dragon abyss bead did require a place of soft water. However, Su Yun had also considered that the king of the Jiang country would go back on his word and attack him again. However, he could not kill the king of the Jiang country. Otherwise, once the king died, the Jiang country would view him as an enemy, and the entire Jiang country would come to find trouble with him. At that stage, it would only be more troublesome, so how could he absorb the dragon abyss bead? In order to avoid trouble, what he needed to do now was to quickly find a place with soft water, quickly absorb the dragon abyss bead, and then leave the Jiang Han realm. He took out the part and pieced it together with the incomplete dragon abyss bead. In an instant, the dragon abyss bead overflowed with a dazzling rainbow light that burned people's eyes. This beautiful halo was almost intoxicating, making it difficult for people to extricate themselves. Su Yun held onto the dragon abyss bead tightly, stepped on his flying sword, and rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. Although he was not someone from the Jiang Han realm, he had already made sufficient preparations in order to seize the dragon abyss bead. Once the dragon abyss bead was obtained, it would be absorbed immediately. After entering the territory of the Jiang country, Su Yun flew towards the west. After about half a day, he arrived at an island in the middle of a lake. The climate of the Jiang country was warm and humid, with flowers blooming in the spring. There were many rivers and lakes everywhere. Compared to the Han country, the scenery here was even more intoxicating. The island in the center of the lake was an uninhabited island. It was surrounded by 1,000 miles large lake. The lake water was very magical. There was clearly no wind, but there were waves. Su Yun went up the island and immediately ran towards the center of the island. There was a snow-white sunflower there. When he got close, he sat cross-legged in front of the white sunflower, picked up the dragon abyss bead, and placed it in his mouth. Gulp. The dragon abyss bead entered his stomach. Chapter 834. The Jiang Han realm was in chaos, and at the same time, the true devil realm was not peaceful either. At the Supreme Sect, a large number of true devil sects stationed at the entrance of the Supreme Realm started to evacuate. At the entrance of the Supreme Realm, the devil cultivator had already set up 81 layers of powerful enchantments, completely sealing it off. These enchantments were all trap enchantments. Anyone who approached them would trigger them. The devil cultivator retreated in an orderly manner, returning to the true devil realm one by one, and using the entrance of the true devil realm as a stronghold, they started to set up. As for the teleportation bridge at the Lonely Mountain, it had long been removed. The series of actions of the devil cultivator attracted the attention of many people. From the looks of it, they seemed to be preparing for a great battle. Could it be that the Supreme Sect was about to return? But after such a long time, other than the Holy Maiden in the martial Imperial Palace, there was not a single person from the Supreme Sect to be seen. On the other hand, the true Devil Sect had been recruiting soldiers and buying horses during this period of time, integrating the Devil Cultivator's forces in the true Devil realm. Currently, the true devil sect's reputation was overflowing, and the battle with the supreme sect had dragged the devil cultivators sect, which was hidden under the eyes of the world, to the peak. The devil cultivator returned to the true devil sect one after another, and the supreme sect was completely silent. Other than the spies sent by the various powers in the myriad heavens realm, there were no other devil cultivators. The actions of the true devil sect indicated that a great battle was about to begin, and the myriad heavens realm once again fell into an inexplicable state of tension. However, at the same time, a strange piece of news came from a small world beside the ultimate martial world. The 10,000 worlds were about to be thrown into chaos. This news was only passed down by word of mouth. No one knew where it came from, but everyone knew that the news originally came from the Wanhua realm. Once the news came out, someone went to the Wanhua realm. However, the scene of the Wanhua realm also attracted everyone's attention. Not only that, she had even personally led the experts of the Wanhua realm to the Linglong Mountain to discuss with the main person in charge of the Linglong Mountain. A few days later, the Linglong Mountain, a group of forces that were mainly made up of spirit cultivators from the outside world, actually submitted to the Wanhua realm lord and was under his control. Such a phenomenon shocked the world. It was not only the Wanhua realm and the true devil sect. Many realms and hidden sects and powers could not endure the loneliness, and gathered their strength to take action. Such an abnormality was a sign of something. For a time, everyone in the 10,000 worlds felt threatened, and a strange atmosphere pervaded all the world. At the entrance of the true devil realm, as usual, Octagon Aniseed came to the entrance to patrol. The people of the true devil sect were working in an orderly manner. The devil cultivator came and went, looking very busy, but no matter who it was, when they met Octagon Aniseed, they would respectfully bow and call him Vice Sect Master. This was not out of the rules, but out of respect, out of worship, out of yearning for the strong and the sages. The devil cultivator worshipped the strong, but Octagon Aniseed had defeated a terrifying organization like the Supreme Sect. Octagon Aniseed nodded one by one. A faint smile hung on his delicate and pretty face, but very few people could see the tiredness in his eyes. Vice Sect Leader. The two devils led a group of stewards over. Elders, you've worked hard. Octagon Aniseed smiled and said, "How is the defensive work going?" "Everything has been carried out according to your instructions, Vice Sect Master. We have already strengthened the strength of the barrier at the entrance, and have set up more than 170 isolation arrays. When the array is activated, anyone who wants to enter the true devil sect will need to use force to break through, and to break through these 170 arrays, a spirit emperor will need at least 33 years to do so, and a spirit sage will need at least half a year," a devil cultivator said. "Other than that, we have also set up a 9-stage death trap array. All of these trap arrays have been treated with the most terrifying bloodthirsty devil chi. Once activated, the bloodthirsty devil chi will envelop the array, destroying everything, and not a single blade of grass will grow inside the array. Even a spirit emperor would not be able to last for 3 breaths of time inside the death array. Its power is astonishing. In addition, there is also the teleportation array. Once activated, it can forcefully teleport away from the spirit cultivator. It can accommodate 190 people and send them into the dark abyss. The 100 devil condors are almost done casting. They are all puppet equipment of the 3rd stage of the Spirit Emperor. People reported their work one by one, their voices filled with an uncontrollable passion. These array seals, enchantments, mechanisms, traps, from the looks of it, they were all shockingly powerful artifacts, and could not be underestimated no matter where they were placed. However, today they were gathered at the entrance of the true devil realm, causing people to feel that it was extremely spectacular and exciting. Who else would not be defeated in the face of such a huge trap and array formation? In all the realms, there was probably no power that could do this. Very good. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head and smiled. Elders, thank you for your hard work, but this is still far from enough. Please continue to work hard and strengthen your defenses. Set up traps and devil condors in a radius of 10,000 miles around the entrance, and cover the entire entrance with a barrier. We cannot let go of even the slightest crack. And when everyone heard this, they were shocked and stunned. Vice Sect Leader, who are we going to deal with? Do we need to do this? A devil cultivator could not help but ask. This. Ahaha, you'll know when the time comes, you'll know. Don't be afraid, he's not a very strong person. As long as you do as I say, there will definitely be no problems. Octagon Aniseed laughed. Seeing the Vice Sect Leader's relaxed expression, everyone's nervous hearts couldn't help but relax a little. However, this couldn't dispel everyone's doubts. If the opponent was too weak, would there still be a need to mobilize so many people? All right. Everyone, continue with your work. We don't have much time. The sooner we finish, the sooner we finish. Everyone, hurry up and move. Octagon Aniseed clapped his hands and shouted loudly. Hearing this, everyone went back to their duties and began to work. Elder Eremo, wait a moment. I have a few things to ask you. Seeing that the two devils were about to leave, Octagon Aniseed immediately walked over and said in a low voice. The two demons were startled, but they did not ask further. They followed Octagon Aniseed to a deserted slope. Vice Sect Leader, do you have any other orders? Oh, there's nothing else. Octagon Aniseed laughed, then said, Previously, I asked you to place the Eye of Vision in Supreme Sect. How is it now? It's almost done. Oh? Is that so? Hurry up and take me to take a look. Octagon Aniseed hurriedly said. The two devils did not dare to hesitate and led Octagon Aniseed back to a temporary encampment not far from the entrance. There were more than 1,000 devil cultivators guarding the encampment, and a few devil cultivator cultivation rooms had been built. The two devils led Octagon Aniseed to the largest room in the middle. There was nothing in the room except for two things. One was a cultivation barrier drawn on the ground, and the other was a black stone embedded in the wall. The stone was square in shape, and there were red lines as thin as hair on it. The thin lines were like blood vessels swimming on the stone, crisscrossing and densely packed. However, looking from afar, these thin lines could not be seen. Looking up close, there were so many that it made one's scalp go numb. The two devils walked in front of the black stone and tapped it a few times. The stone immediately emitted a red light. He chanted a few demonic spells, and the red lines on the stone immediately expanded and shrunk, as if they were living creatures. In a short moment, the black stone turned blood-red in color and appeared on top of it. Then, the blood-red surface of the stone began to slowly turn into a mist and become shallow. Octagon Aniseed immediately opened his eyes wide, and his pupils turned red. A ray of light shot out from his pupils and struck the surface of the board. In an instant, a strange phenomenon occurred on the surface of the board, and one scene after another appeared on the surface of the board. Upon closer inspection, the scene that appeared was the empty and quiet interior of the Supreme Sect. At this moment, there were gusts of golden wind hanging inside the Supreme Sect. The strong wind blew fiercely, rippling the entire Supreme Sect, and other than the golden wind, there was nothing else. How many vision eyes did you install? Octagon Aniseed stared at the board for a while, and asked in a deep voice. 109. Immediately changed to another vision eye. Let me take a look. Octagon Aniseed hurriedly said. The two devils did not dare to hesitate. They immediately extended their hands and pointed at the pitch-black board. Immediately, the surface of the board shook, but the scene did not change. It was still the same golden wind blowing wildly. Change again. Yes. Change again. Yes. Change again. Octagon Aniseed focused as he stared at the surface of the board with an abnormally serious expression. The two devils exhaled and changed the pictures on the board again and again. However, there were almost 100 pictures on the board, but there were no abnormalities on the board. Only the golden wind was blowing more and more fiercely. He was almost mechanically activating the profound chi to change the surface of the board. Towards the end, he could almost predict the time and was ready to change when it was about time. Change again. Yes, the two devils raised their arms and touched the surface of the board. However, just as his hand was about to touch the surface of the board, suddenly, Octagon Aniseed extended his hand and grabbed his palm. The two devils were shocked. They turned their heads to look at Octagon Aniseed. Vice Sect Leader, please respect yourself. Wait. However, Octagon Aniseed didn't even look at him. His gaze was fixated on the surface of the board, and an unprecedented seriousness surfaced on his face. The two devils were startled. They followed Octagon Aniseed's line of sight, only to see that this time, what appeared on the board was no longer the endless golden wind, but a thin figure. At the top of the board, there was a grayish-black area. This figure was wandering around the grayish-black area. He walked around for a while, and then, with a single thought, he drilled into the grayish-black area and disappeared. Seeing this, Octagon Aniseed took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The two devils were still in a daze as they said in a daze, Vice Sect Leader, what is this? This is an impending crisis. Octagon Aniseed said slowly, his voice somewhat hoarse. Chapter 835. Gudong. 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 A strange sound rang out on the island in the middle of the lake. It was like the sound of a wild beast devouring food. When the spirit beasts on the island heard this, they all fled in panic. Whoosh! A 7-colored whirlwind suddenly blew out from the center of the island. The wind split into two and revolved around the left and right sides of the island. It was as if a fairy's ribbon was constantly revolving. It was extremely beautiful. The 7-colored whirlwind spun for a full hour before suddenly returning to the center of the island with a whoosh and disappearing without a trace. At the same time, a loud and resounding voice erupted from the island in the center of the lake. It was as if a dragon's roar resounded through the sky. The island in the center of the lake shone brightly, and a strange phenomenon suddenly appeared, as if someone had broken through. The surrounding spirit beasts, who were trembling in fear, all prostrated themselves on the ground, paying their respects to the island in the center of the lake. The lake water around the island also began to ripple, and the spirit beasts at the bottom of the lake all poked their heads out to look at the island. The phenomenon alarmed the cultivators who were cultivating in seclusion in the distance. The crowd began to stir, but no one dared to approach the island in the center of the lake. This was because after the phenomenon, a surging aura blew in all directions. All the people who approached the island felt an indescribable pressure, making it difficult for them to advance. Breakthrough. It had to be a breakthrough, and it was a breakthrough in the realm of supreme expert. The spirit cultivators were secretly shocked. It was indeed so. At this moment, on the island in the center of the lake, Su Yun, who was beside the white sunflower, had indeed completed his breakthrough. Furthermore, his cultivation was not at the first or second stage, but in an instant, he had stepped into the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor. He took a big step forward in an instant. This was no longer an ordinary advancement. In his abdomen, a pearl glowing with 7-colored light was slowly swimming and pacing back and forth. Around this pearl was a large amount of pitch-black gas. Even if one stood outside, one could see everything inside through the skin and flesh. The current Su Yun had long since been moved into another world by the Dragon Abyss Pearl, a world that belonged to the Dragon Abyss Pearl itself. Here, Su Yun did not seem to be able to feel any hostility or killing intent. All that was left was a calm and gentle tranquility. The energy sealed within Sage Feng Qi's body was affected by the Dragon Abyss Pearl, and all of it leaked out. However, when it neared the Dragon Abyss Pearl, it was all absorbed. It was like a black hole, but also like a blender. Any power that was sucked in by it would be synthesized by it and quickly transformed into its own power, giving it to Su Yun. This was a method that was even more direct and faster than absorbing profound coin. However, as the Dragon Abyss Pearl continued to operate, Su Yun slowly felt that its internal energy was being rapidly consumed. This was not a magic treasure that could be maintained forever. When its internal energy was exhausted, it would lose all its value and become an ordinary stone. This was a process that was neither long nor short. The amount of evil aura was not small, and if it was just the Dragon Abyss Pearl alone, it would still be very strenuous. However, with the power of the Phoenix Pond Sage and the Wudong Tree, the Dragon Abyss Pearl could barely contend against it. In fact, Su Yun did not expect the Dragon Abyss Pearl to dissolve all the evil aura in his body. He only needed to fuse it to a certain degree, a degree that he could accept, and the rest would be enough for him to slowly adjust, but the amount of evil aura was too large, and if he was not careful, his soul would be devoured, and he would turn into a walking corpse. After sitting quietly for an entire day, Su Yun enjoyed this wonderful feeling. The power of the Supreme Sect Lord was also converted by the Dragon Abyss Pearl, and merged into Su Yun's body. It was precisely because of this energy that his cultivation increased crazily, and his realm continued to increase. Su Yun was immersed in the world of the Dragon Abyss Pearl, and was unable to extricate himself. Furthermore, he was constantly comprehending and improving in this world, and perhaps he would not have such an opportunity again in the future. Inside the magnificent palace, a general was walking quickly towards the great hall in the center. Along the way, the guards all bowed to him, but the general ignored them all. His footsteps were hurried, almost like a meteor. After the eunuch informed the general, he went up to the hall. At this moment, inside the palace, there were hundreds of civil and military officials. The king of the Jiang country, Xian Ao, sat on the dragon throne, and the one sitting beside him was the Holy Mother of the River. When the general entered the hall, he immediately knelt down on one knee. "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Greetings, Holy Mother." "General Lin, get up. If you have anything to say, quickly report it," Xian Ao said. His face was still pale, and his injuries from a few days ago had not healed. The opponent's profound qi was too strong, and it would not be easy to purify this profound qi. Xian Ao also did not understand. Su Yun's cultivation was clearly not high, and with the Holy Mother of the River's profound strength, it was enough to purify it. However, the Holy Mother of the River had to spend a great deal of effort to barely remove a portion of the profound qi. According to the words of the Holy Mother of the River, this profound qi had actually already surpassed the 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor. What kind of concept was the 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor? A person with this level of cultivation should be a marshal of the Jiang country. This person was only at the 1st stage of the Spirit Emperor, and he already had such a profound qi. Then if he were to advance to the 5th stage, how terrifying would the profound qi be? At this moment, General Lin spoke up, "Reporting to Your Majesty, this general has already found the location of the person who took away the Dragon Abyss Bead." Xian Ao's eyes lit up and quickly asked, "Where is he now?" "It's on the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island," General Lin said. "Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island?" Xian Ao muttered, then turned his head to look at the Holy Mother of the River. "It's really there, Holy Mother, your prediction is correct. This person probably made some preparations after obtaining the Dragon Abyss Bead. I guess he also knows that we will still be looking for him, and the reason he chose this place is because this place is close to the world gate of the Jiang Han realm, so it's convenient for him to escape. Since I've found him, I can't let him escape this time," Xian Ao said coldly. A large part of the reason why he started the war against the Han state was because of the Dragon Abyss Bead. He was also a martial fanatic, and had an uncontrollable fanaticism towards cultivation, but his time was too limited. Although his cultivation speed was many times faster than ordinary spirit cultivator, he was still not satisfied. It was said that the Dragon Abyss bead was a divine object that could allow one's cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. For this reason, Xian Ao began to completely devour the Han state. However, halfway through, Su Yun appeared, and not only did he injure him, he even took away the Dragon Abyss bead. For this, how could Xian Ao be willing? Ever since he became the king of the Jiang country, he had never suffered such humiliation. Your Majesty, we must have a foolproof plan for this operation. The other party might be prepared, not to mention that his strength is not simple. If we do not succeed this time, I am worried that he will bring the Dragon Abyss bead and leave the Jiang Han realm. The Virgin of the River said. Does the Holy Mother have a good plan? Xian Ao asked. The Goddess of the River thought for a moment, then said, Divine objects still need divine objects to treat them. All the generals said that this person is impervious to swords and spears, impervious to water and fire, and has the protection of a divine object. His divine object is a defensive magic treasure. This kind of magic treasure can protect the body, but the defense of the soul is extremely weak, and cannot defend against mental techniques. But in the previous exchange, it was a huge mistake. This person still has mental protection, and his speed is extremely fast. If he wants to escape, it will be extremely difficult to catch up. So we have to start from 2 points. 1. We have to use mental techniques on him. We have to be very strong, we can't let him escape. Second, think of a way to seal him off, restrict his speed, and make it so that he has nowhere to run. But this is not simple. I heard that when he dealt with the crown prince of the Han state and the great general Li Guangyuan, not only was he not at a disadvantage, he even captured Jiao Li alive. Jiao Li and Li Guangyuan are both existences of the Spirit Emperor, and that Li Guangyuan is even an expert of the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor. Although Xian Ao wanted to capture Su Yun immediately, he was not blinded by his anger. If the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor is not enough, then invite the 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor. If the 8th stage is not enough, then invite the 9th stage. If the 9th stage is not enough, then invite the Saint of the Spirit Sage. The Goddess of the River said indifferently. The Holy Mother makes it sound easy, but the Jiang Han realm is only so big. Where do you want me to find it in such a short time? Xian Ao shook his head. Spirit Sage? He didn't know if there was one in the entire Jiang country. Your Majesty, there is no need to worry. Jiang He has already sent a message to the sect, inviting Master to come to the Jiang Han realm to help the Sovereign King kill that person and take back the Dragon Abyss bead. The Goddess of the River said, Master knows that the Sovereign King is my dual cultivation partner, so he will definitely not refuse. We only need to wait for 2 days before we can go and retrieve the pearl. What? She's here too? Xian Ao's pupils immediately dilated, and his voice became gentle. His change was enough to show how great the other party's background was. Master's magic power is extremely high. It's not difficult to subdue this person. How did you alarm Master? That's not good, is it? Xian Ao's expression was a little unsightly, and his voice was a little late. Seeing this, the Holy Mother of the River gently shook her head. Sovereign King, please do not worry. Master will only help us. He will not monopolize the Dragon Abyss Pearl. The Dragon Abyss Pearl will definitely belong to you, Sovereign King. No one can change this. Hearing that, Xian Ao's expression improved a little. He nodded and said in a deep voice, Immediately send someone to the border to set up a guard of honor, and prepare to welcome the Void Spirit Saint. In addition, General Lin, quickly lead the experts to the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island, arrange an army from the Lake Heart Island to the border, set up a blockade, and prevent that person from leaving the Jiang Han realm through the border. If that person does not leave when the Void Spirit Saint arrives, he will definitely die. When General Lin heard this, he immediately cupped his fists. General Lin orders. With that, he retreated. Xian Ao stood up, his entire body filled with majesty and tyranny. He swept his gaze across everyone in front of him and said, "The Void Spirit Saint is the Holy Mother's teacher, and is also the Imperial teacher. All of you, quickly follow me to the border to welcome the Saint. Once the Saint arrives, we will immediately take the life of that traitor. With the Saint here, who could be impudent? I want to take his soul and refine my royal sword. Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor!" All the officials knelt down and shouted in unison. Chapter 836. Cultivation was a gradual process. Anyone who broke this process would have a variable result. As for whether this variable was good or bad, it would depend on the conditions and factors. The Supreme Sect Lord's cultivation had probably already surpassed the Spirit Emperor, and was an expert of the Spirit Sage, but under the fierce sword, forget about the Spirit Sage, even if it was an even stronger existence, it would still be turned into ashes, and Su Yun was lucky enough to devour his 3 souls and 7 spirits. With such a huge amount of energy, it was unknown if it was a good fortune or a fortuitous encounter. When his cultivation reached the peak of the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor, it slowed down. Even so, Su Yun knew that he would not be able to stay in the 7th stage for long. With the protection of the divine object, his cultivation speed had also increased by 1,000 miles. With such a godly speed, it was unknown how many Spirit Cultivator S were unable to catch up. After 3 days, the Dragon Abyss Pearl in his lower abdomen dimmed. The halo of light on its surface was already extremely weak, like a candle that had reached the end of its lifespan. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes, and a wisp of smoke leaked out from the corner of his eyes. At this moment, his eyes seemed to have a rotation of the heavens. The sun and moon alternated in the depths of his pupils, and an indescribable feeling of vicissitudes floated in all directions. Su Yun stood up, and felt that every drop of blood and every piece of flesh in his body seemed to have come to life, as if they were all living beings. He lowered his head and sensed his surroundings. Everything within 5,000 kilometers around him could be heard by his ears. Looking up into the sky, he could see all the stars in the sky. His senses, speed, strength, and so on, all of them had undergone a heaven-shaking, earth-toppling transformation. This was not a change brought about by advancing to the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor. Instead, it was a change brought about by the power of the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Bada. Just then, a crisp sound came out from Su Yun's abdomen, and the Dragon Abyss Pearl that was still spinning around his abdomen suddenly dimmed, and stopped spinning. All of the energy within it had been used up. The evil qi in Su Yun's body had also completely disappeared, and the 3 souls and 7 souls of the Supreme Sect Lord had been completely digested. He retracted his abdomen, opened his mouth, and spat out the gray stone. This was supposed to be a magnificent divine object, but what it spat out was a grayish-black color, and its surface was uneven. As soon as it landed on the ground, it turned into powder with a poof before it could even make a sound, and completely disappeared. This divine treasure that caused the war between the Jiang country and the Han country had now disappeared forever from the island at the heart of the Phoenix Cry Lake. Su Yun took a deep breath and stopped moving around. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to recuperate. Although the Dragon Abyss Pearl had combined the evil aura and the power of the Supreme Sect Lord, it had used its own divine power as a guide, complementing it, and then injected it into Su Yun's body. Whether it was the power of the Dragon Abyssal Pearl or the evil qi and the power of the soul, none of them were things that Su Yun could contend against, nor were they things that Su Yun could accept. Su Yun had originally thought that the Dragon Abyssal Pearl would be able to help him offset the power, but today, he realized that what Feng Qi said was not completely correct. The Dragon Abyssal Pearl could indeed help him control the evil qi, but it was not to digest it, but to mix it. It used its own power to wrap around the evil qi and soul force in a circle, intending to spread it all over Su Yun's body and fuse it into his body. At first, he thought that it was offset by the Dragon Abyssal Pearl, but now he felt that it was not the case. However, the divine power of the Dragon Abyss Pearl was not like the evil qi; it could devour a person's soul at any time. Its power was after all a feminine power, and would not affect Su Yun at all. But now, it needed time to digest this power, and allow it to slowly fuse with Su Yun. If it was said that the evil qi in Su Yun's body was a slow poison before, then, it could be said that after Su Yun consumed a medicine, this medicine and the slow poison had combined, turning into an unprecedented tonic that acted on his body. The energy given by this tonic was enormous. Today, the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor was only the first wave of the medicinal effects, and it would only stop when the medicinal effects were completely unleashed. In other words, the current Su Yun's cultivation speed was even faster and fiercer than before. He did not even know how many times faster his cultivation speed was compared to ordinary spirit cultivators. However, cultivation alone was not enough. One's mental state had to keep up as well. Otherwise, Su Yun would be like the princess of the Han state, with an empty cultivation, but a childlike temperament. However, cultivating one's heart was even more difficult than cultivating one's body. Crash! Suddenly, a strange voice floated in from 10,000 miles away. Su Yun had already sensed everyone and everything around Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island. Their words and actions were all in Su Yun's ears and eyes, but this voice was especially special. The moment he rushed into Su Yun's perception range, he immediately rushed towards the island in the middle of the lake. He was in a hurry, obviously with a goal in mind. Su Yun turned his head and looked in that direction. It was a spirit cultivator wearing the uniform of the Jiang country. It seemed like Xian Ao was still unwilling to give up. Su Yun frowned. When the man got close to the island, he stopped. He placed a few magic treasure on the ground and circled around the island. After spying on the situation on the island, he left in a hurry. After that, more and more spirit cultivators appeared from all directions. They surrounded the island in a ring shape and placed their magic treasure on the ground. Looking at their movements, they were not only spying on the situation of the island, but also setting up some kind of array formation barrier. Su Yun stood up and looked around. These spirit cultivators did not know that all of their actions were already under Su Yun's eyes. Although the current Su Yun was not afraid of the Jiang country, it was better to avoid trouble. Since the Dragon Abyss bead had already been digested by him, leaving this troublesome place as soon as possible was the best plan. With that thought, Su Yun immediately leaped into the air, jumping 10,000 miles into the sky, then stepped on his sword and flew towards the entrance of the Jiang Han realm. The surrounding spies of the Jiang country only saw a thin line jump into the clouds and disappear. They didn't even have time to determine if it was a person or something else. Su Yun's current speed was extremely fast. If it was before, he would have to spend at least half a day to travel from Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island to the entrance of the Jiang Han realm. However, in the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he had already arrived at the entrance. As he neared the entrance, the air rippled like water vapor. Su Yun's face darkened. He felt that something was amiss and immediately stopped. He took a deep breath, secretly activated the profound strength, and looked towards the entrance. Although he was still thousands of miles away from the entrance, every blade of grass and tree at the entrance was in his eyes. They had formed 10 lines of defense. Each line of defense had close to 10,000 soldiers, and there were even close to 100 expert Spirit Emperor-level existences emerged one after another, and after defeating the Han army, they were still able to mobilize so many troops, showing how powerful the Jiang country was. It seemed that Xian Ao knew that he would be able to detect his men, and had already made preparations to directly seal off the entrance. This place was located at the intersection of the two countries, but after the defeat of the Han Empire, all of the land in the city was occupied by the Jiang country, and this place was also included in the territory of the Jiang country. At this moment, Xian'ao, the Holy Mother of the River, and the other experts were standing in front of the icy pond. There was even a guard of honor set up at the pond, as if they were welcoming something. Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers were unable to do anything to him. They had most likely invited some expert to help them, if not with just these, not to mention killing Su Yun, it would be difficult to even capture him. Su Yun stared at the pool and thought for a moment. Opening the door to the pool would take at least 20 breaths of time. At this time, if the Holy Mother of the River used a mental technique on him, it would be difficult for her to resist. In a hurry, he did not set up a mental protection array, but it was definitely too late to set it up now. Even existences like Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the River had personally come to welcome him, so it was likely that the person who came would not be an ordinary person. Su Yun was 70% sure that the person who came to welcome him was someone they had specially called to restrain him. Jianghua's spies had already spread all over the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island to monitor his movements. The entire Jianghan realm was like a large prison to him. He took a deep breath and thought about it again and again. Suddenly, he thought of something and turned around, rushing back to the island in the center of the Phoenix Cry Lake. His speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had returned to the island in the center of the lake. Looking around, the spies were still there, but they were even closer to the island in the center of the lake. It was likely that they did not manage to catch any traces of Su Yun before, so they wanted to get closer to investigate. Su Yun returned to the front of the white sunflower, took out the Lotus Star Sword, and injected the profound qi into it. The Lotus Star Sword immediately released waves of beautiful light that shot straight into the clouds, and arranged all sorts of mystical patterns in the sky, looking extremely beautiful. The spies were all attracted by this strange phenomenon, and some of them immediately turned around and rushed towards the entrance of the realm. Seeing that, Su Yun did not hesitate. He took out some of the materials he had used before from the space bag and started drawing on the ground. Immediately after, he pulled out the white sunflower and injected the profound qi and the divine power of the imperial battle robe into it. In an instant, the white sunflower was wrapped in waves of colorful light. It was extremely dazzling. He drew a skull pattern on the ground, killed 2 spirit beasts on the island, took their blood, and imprinted it on the formation. This formation was hastily made, and the materials were all found at the last minute. As a result, its power was not great, but it was enough. After the array was set up, Su Yun inserted the white sunflower into the center of the array, then raised the Lotus Star Sword and lightly waved it at the sunflower and the array. Illusion. With a low shout, the Lotus Star Sword released a snow-white light, enveloping the white sunflower. After a while, the sunflower changed, and actually turned into Su Yun's appearance. He sat cross-legged on the array seal with his eyes closed, motionless, as though he was cultivating. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately turned and flew into the sky. Stepping on the clouds, he flew towards the entrance of the realm. At the same time, a large number of experts from the Jiang country appeared below him. These people seemed to have gone mad as they directly rushed towards the island in the center of the lake. Their speed was extremely fast, and their faces were filled with anxiety, as if they were rushing for something. Chapter 837. Faster! All of you, hurry up! All of you, hurry up! If we let that brat absorb the dragon abyss bead, both you and I will be finished. A spirit emperor who was flying at the front roared loudly. His Majesty has lost the dragon abyss bead. He will definitely be furious. We will definitely not have a good ending. All of you, stay alert. But, Master, this person's methods are not simple. It is said that he once defeated the crown prince of the Han state and General Li Guangyuan by himself, and even entered and exited our Jiang country's army as if there was no one there. Can we contend against him with just us alone? A person asked in a low voice, his voice still weak. Back then, when Su Yun was fighting with the Holy Mother of the River, he was actually at the side and had some understanding of Su Yun's strength. Back then, he and the other experts were in charge of protecting Xian Ao's safety, and everyone surrounded Xian Ao so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. However, in the blink of an eye, Su Yun silently passed through the human wall that they had arranged, and directly appeared behind them, holding Xian Ao hostage. He knew that Su Yun's strength was not only because of his astonishing defensive power, but also because of his terrifying speed. Right now, regardless of whether or not they could break this fellow's defense, if he wanted to escape, how could they stop him? I heard that this person's defense is invincible, but his spirit is extremely weak. We can start from here. Use mental spells to restrain him. The leader at the front said. Mental spells? I'm afraid it won't work. Even a spell cast by a supreme expert like the Virgin of the River was broken by him. How can our little tricks be enough? The person beside him immediately shook his head. Yeah, others say that this guy's mental defense is extremely weak, but that's only because of his invincible physical defense. But in my opinion, this guy's mental defense is not simple either. Relying on simple illusions, there's no way to deal with him. In your opinion, what do you think we should do? The leader turned his head and asked him with wide eyes. Ugh. This. Let's see what happens first. Look, there's still time for you to see? If that guy swallowed the dragon abyss bead, both you and I would be finished. Right now, there is a strange phenomenon on the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island, and the scouts have reported that it is extremely likely that that guy has consumed the dragon abyss bead. Now, you and the others will follow me to restrain him. No matter what, you must restrain him. A large number of people have arrived? Won't His Majesty and the Holy Mother come? Not coming. The leader shook his head. The Holy Mother said that this could also be a trick that guy purposely used. He should have already sensed our spies, and purposely did this to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Furthermore, even if this guy is not a trick, and really intends to swallow the dragon abyss bead, the two of them do not need to come. We will hold them back, and as long as we wait for the Holy Mother's master, the Void Spirit Saint, to arrive at the Jiang Han realm, we can seal the door, and that person will be a turtle in a jar, unable to escape from the Jiang Han realm. That's true, but can we really hold him back? He himself was not sure if he could hold Su Yun back, but he understood one thing: in this operation, a lot of people would die. However, Xian Ao was a greedy monarch. He wanted to obtain any treasure in the Jiang Han realm. If he couldn't obtain it, he would do everything he could to obtain it, and even start a war. There were only 300 people here, and most of them were existences of the Sky Spirit Master. There were only 11 Spirit Emperors, and they were all first and second grade existences. Although these people's cultivations were looked up to in the past, at this moment, they felt that they were incomparably small. Not long after, everyone finally arrived at the island at the heart of the Phoenix Cry Lake. The spies that were scattered around the island immediately came to make contact. My lord! Is there any movement from that person? For now, there are no movements, but strange phenomena have appeared on the island. It seems like someone is about to break through. This must be the result of that person swallowing the dragon abyss bead. Everyone, do not hesitate, quickly follow me into the island and capture this person. If we lose the dragon abyss bead, everyone will lose their heads. Yes, my lord. Everyone shouted as they rushed towards the island in the center of the lake. As they neared the island, these people all took out their magic treasure weapons and activated their profound chi, as though they were preparing for a great battle. The leader was the first to rush into the center of the lake. As soon as he stepped on the island, he was attracted by a strange demonic aura. Immediately, the leader rushed toward the source of the demonic aura. After flying for a while, he immediately stopped. The people who followed behind him also stopped in their track. They looked at their leader, only to see him holding a long blade and landing in the center of the island. He looked forward with an incomparably serious expression. Everyone was extremely curious. They followed his line of sight and immediately came to a realization. It turned out that there was a person sitting cross-legged in front of them. This person was wrapped in a miraculous formation. He sat cross-legged in the center of the formation, motionless, as if he had been petrified. Even though these people were close to him, he still did not have any reaction. "Master, what do we do now? This guy seems to be cultivating." A person walked over and said in a low voice, "If he is cultivating, then that would be terrible. This person must be digesting the dragon abyss bead. Don't hesitate, quickly follow me to kill this person and dig out the dragon abyss bead from his stomach." The captain shouted. "Yes, sir." Everyone shouted and rushed towards Su Yun in unison. One blade after another smashed towards his body fiercely. The existence of the Spirit Emperor did not hold back in the slightest, as though he had used all of his treasures. If they could not restrain Su Yun this time, with Xian Ao's temperament, none of them would be able to survive, and would definitely be executed by Xian Ao. On the contrary, if they were to fight with all their might and restrain this person, they might still have a chance to live. These people had already been forced to a dead end by Xian Ao. If they did not do it, they would only die. However, just as their attacks touched the person sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly, bang! That person immediately exploded, and a golden ripple spread out in all directions, hitting the spirit cultivators, causing them to vomit blood. Not only that, a large amount of blood-red fog instantly filled the entire island, and the people who were struck by the golden ripple to the point of vomiting blood were once again enveloped by the blood-red fog. They immediately panicked and hurriedly stood up, shouting loudly, and nervously looked around. However, their line of sight was blocked, and they could not see anything clearly. "Be careful! Be careful! That guy set up a trap in advance. Everyone be careful!" The leader shouted at the top of his lungs. "Everyone move closer to me, everyone rush out together. Faster! Charge out!" The shouts did not stop, and after that, a few spirit cultivators rushed out of the island and flew into the sky. However, when he looked at the island, he discovered that the entire island was already shrouded in a blood-red mist, and nothing inside could be seen clearly. Whiz! 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 At this moment, a few people flew out from the blood-red mist and met up with the people who had come out earlier. "Are you all right?" The leader rushed over and shouted loudly. "My lord, we're fine. We just took a hit from that guy." One of them said, "So this guy set up a trap in advance. He's too despicable. My lord, what should we do now? This blood mist is very strange. If we were to be ambushed by that guy and not be able to see anything, we would be at a disadvantage. Yeah, we have to think of a way to purify this blood mist." "Purify this fog? Easy, let me do it." A spirit cultivator volunteered to stand out. He took out a fan that was shining with a silver light, as if it was made of iron, and waved it at the blood mist below. Hua! A terrifying gale that could blow apart a mountain was stirred up, and the Phoenix Cry Lake was instantly overturned. Monstrous waves surged non-stop, and the world lost its color. It was as if the apocalypse had arrived. However, the terrifying wind produced by the fan did not blow away the blood mist. This blood mist seems to have some strange power attached to it. I'm afraid ordinary wind won't be able to do anything to it," the leader said in a deep voice. "Then, my lord, what should we do?" the others asked anxiously. The leader rolled his eyes, took a deep breath, and growled, Send someone back to inform the king and the Holy Mother, tell her that this person has already started to use the Dragon Abyss bead, and ask the Holy Mother to quickly come and help, while the others follow me down to restrain that person. The Holy Mother's techniques were profound and powerful. With her exquisite profound technique methods, it would only take her 100 breaths to arrive here. Quick! Go quickly! Yes, sir. A spirit cultivator did not dare to hesitate, and immediately turned to leave. Everyone else, prepare to follow me. The leader shouted. Yes, sir. A shout rang out. Following that, the 100 spirit cultivator regrouped and stared at the bright red blood mist. With a loud shout, they all rushed in again. The other spirit cultivator used all of his profound chi to increase his speed. He moved as fast as lightning, heading straight for the entrance of the Jianghan realm. It was as if he had gone mad. His speed was beyond his limit. Very quickly, he was close to the border. Before he even arrived, he impatiently shouted out loud. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Not good. Something bad has happened. Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers, who were guarding the border, frowned as they looked at the person rushing over from afar. Before that person even got close to Xian'ao, he had already shouted. Your Majesty! Something bad had happened. That guy is currently devouring the Dragon Abyss bead. He has set up a trap to protect himself. We are currently restraining him, but his cultivation is too strong. We are not his match, Your Majesty. Please quickly support us. Oh? Is that person really still on Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island? Xian'ao's eyes lit up as he asked loudly. Yes, Your Majesty. However, we are not his match, and we do not know how long we can hold him back. Quickly return and have Zhang Yi stall that person with all his might. I will immediately lead the experts to capture and kill that person. Xian'ao shouted. Yes, Your Majesty. All troops, listen up. Prepare to set off. Xian'ao roared again. The army of the Jiang country slowly moved. Chapter 838. Xian'ao was about to lead the experts at the entrance to the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island to provide support. After all, this person had reported that Su Yun had already started to absorb the Dragon Abyss bead and made a move on them, so the possibility of luring the tiger away from the mountain was not high. There was only one Dragon Abyss bead. If Su Yun used it, it would not be a good thing. In fact, if Xian'ao were to go over now, it would only be to stall for time. Last time, he could not subdue Su Yun, and this time, the possibility of him subduing him was not high. Of course, the prerequisite was that the Holy Mother of the River was here. Otherwise, if he went alone, it would be hard to guarantee that he would be captured by Su Yun again. Your Majesty, don't be anxious. I'll go this time. You lead the experts here and wait for Master's arrival. At this moment, the Virgin of the Rivers spoke. What? The Holy Mother seems to think that this man will trick us into leaving? Xian'ao lightly shook his head. You don't have to worry, you can leave with me, it won't be a big deal. After all, I have set up 36 enchantments here. If he can't break through this enchantment, he won't be able to easily enter the realm gate. Not to mention, I have set up a legacy formation here. If that person really wants us to leave, we can use the legacy formation to instantly return here. When the goddess of the rivers heard this, her face was still filled with hesitation. However, she understood Xuanao's stubbornness. Furthermore, if her worries were wrong, then that person would indeed consume the Dragon Abyss bead at the heart of the Phoenix Cry Lake. Wouldn't that mean that she would cause Xian'ao to lose the Dragon Abyss bead? After weighing it over and over again, the Virgin of the River finally decided to let Xian'ao go and no longer tried to dissuade him. Immediately, Xian'ao led close to 10,000 elites of the Jiang country and, accompanied by the Holy Mother of the River, majestically headed towards the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island. However, what they didn't know was that right now, 10,000 miles above them, a person was watching them. This person was Su Yun. The previous few battles had already caused many people from the Jiang and Han kingdoms to fear him. After all, Su Yun had always fought against the army of an entire country by himself, and had even captured the leader time and time again. This method was not something they could imagine, not to mention, even the famous Holy Mother of the River could not do anything to Su Yun. As a result, these people developed an inexplicable fear towards Su Yun. Xian Ao's movements were very fast. It was obvious that he was also worried that the Dragon Abyss Pearl would be devoured by Su Yun too early. In the blink of an eye, these people had already disappeared into the horizon. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately descended from the sky. "Who is it?" The soldiers that Xian Ao had sent to guard the border immediately shouted when they saw the unfamiliar faces. But Su Yun did not even look at them, his eyes staring straight at the cold pond. At the bottom of the cold pond was the exit that led to the ultimate martial sacred plane. "It's the person who stole the dragon abyss bead." Just then, a soldier recognized Su Yun and immediately shouted out loudly. As soon as this voice came out, it was as if a pot had exploded. The soldiers all looked at Su Yun nervously, and the densely packed people surrounded him. They had already rushed to the side of the cold pond, and the 10 lines of defense were like decorations. A general in charge of the defensive line immediately shouted. All the soldiers at the defensive line rushed over, and like dumplings, they surrounded Su Yun in 3 layers. "There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. I didn't expect you to trick His Majesty and the Holy Mother, but that doesn't matter. With us here, you won't be able to leave the Jiang Han realm." The general in charge of the defensive line snorted coldly. "Idiot." Su Yun shook his head. He could not even be bothered to look at him, and directly walked towards the cold pond. When the general heard this, his blood rushed to his head. He was furious and immediately roared, "Kill! Kill this person! Quickly kill this person! Kill!" The surrounding soldiers shouted and rushed towards Su Yun. Su Yun did not want to waste any time, and directly rushed towards the cold pond. The soldiers could not stop him at all. He was like a god of war, invincible and unstoppable. "Activate the enchantment and stop him. Quick!" the leader shouted. As soon as his voice fell, the surroundings of the cold pond immediately emitted a clang-clang sound. Following that, various colored barriers of light appeared and directly enveloped the cold pond. Su Yun took a deep breath and activated the divine power of the imperial battle robe. Like a bull, he crashed into the layers of enchantments. Crack, 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 crack. The enchantment was like broken glass. It was directly smashed into pieces, and Su Yun jumped into the cold pond. Plop! He sank into it and immediately swam towards the bottom. When the soldiers saw that, they immediately jumped inside, and continued to chase after Su Yun. In fact, many people did not have much morale left. This was not a war, nor was it for the country, it was just for the king's own selfish desires. It had to be said that Su Yun was not willing to get entangled with these soldiers, if not with his methods. Killing these soldiers would be as easy as slaughtering pigs and dogs. Very quickly, he swam to the entrance of the Jiang Han realm. Su Yun immediately extended his hand and opened the door. "Kill, kill for me!" The leader used the profound qi to transmit the message in the water. Although the soldiers were helpless, they had no choice but to do as they were told. However, when they attacked Su Yun chose to ignore them all. When those profound technique swords hit his body, it was not painful at all. Others simply treated these soldiers as air, so what was there to talk about killing them or not? This was simply blatant contempt, but these soldiers did not have any temper. With high strength, he would be willful. The door slowly opened, Su Yun directly jumped into the door, and disappeared. When the soldiers saw this, they all stopped in their tracks. "My lord, should we chase after him?" "Chase. Chase. We must chase after him," the general roared, If this person escapes, it will be difficult for us to explain to His Majesty. Everyone's head will fall to the ground. Chase after him." The roars did not stop. The general's orders could not be disobeyed. The soldiers had no choice but to rush inside the door. However, at this moment, a bright halo suddenly appeared from within the door, followed by a mysterious aura floating out from within. With the pressure, the soldiers found it difficult to advance and retreated in unison. "When did the gate to the Jianghan realm be built in the water?" An old voice floated out from inside. Then, a hunchbacked old woman wearing a golden robe and holding a walking stick walked out from inside. When the general saw this, he was stunned. "Who are you?" The old woman raised her head and looked at the densely packed river in front of her. Her thin old eyebrows furrowed, and a trace of unhappiness flashed through her dim yellow eyes. "Is this how you treat your guests in Jiang country?" "The way to treat guests." The general was even more confused, but he seemed to have vaguely sensed something, and secretly signaled to the soldiers beside him with his eyes. The soldiers quietly surrounded the old woman, and the general cupped his fists and said, "I am the general of Jiang country, Su Sihu. This old man, who are you? Where did you come from?" Su Yun had left, so it was impossible for him to disguise himself as someone else. The general did not dare to be too careless, as it would not be good if he offended someone capable. However, this small action of his seemed to have angered the old woman. The old woman raised the walking stick in her hand and fiercely smashed it towards the general's chest. "General, be careful!" The bystanders cried out in alarm. However, it was too late. General Su was sent flying by the walking stick. He spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing the cold pond red. He was also sent flying, bringing with him a large stream of water. A few soldiers rushed over to support the general, only to find that he was already out of breath, and his cultivation base had been reduced by more than half. Seeing this scene, the soldiers were all frightened out of their wits. To be able to cripple this general with a single move, how strong must this old woman be? One had to know that a person who could become a general would definitely not have a weak cultivation. At the very least, he was not someone that ordinary soldiers could compare to. However, this old woman's cultivation seemed to be able to completely crush the general. If even the general was no match for him, would the others be a match for him? Seeing the shocked faces of the surrounding soldiers, the old woman seemed to be extremely satisfied. She said indifferently, "Go, call your king to see me." "Monarch, monarch? What is it? Do you still need this old woman to go personally? Are all of you people from the Jiang dynasty trash?" This old woman hates trash the most. "Since you are trash, then you should have a home for trash. All of you die." With that, the old woman was about to make her move. This was no longer a matter of drawing his sword at the slightest disagreement. It was a matter of being moody and treating life like grass. Although Su Yun was a demon, he would not be like this. The old woman's style was truly shocking. When the surrounding soldiers heard her words, they were shocked. These soldiers had long been stunned by the old woman's methods. Not a single one of them stepped forward. Not only that, a few of them had already started to retreat, preparing to leave the cold pond and escape without a trace. They didn't want to lose their lives because of some random person. However, just as the soldiers floated out of the cold pond, a golden light descended from the sky and struck their bodies. Crack! The bodies of the soldiers immediately split into pieces. Blood splattered into the cold pond and their souls overflowed. However, it didn't last long before they were swept away by a strong gust of wind and sent flying into the distance. Looking over, the Virgin of the River in the distance was opening her mouth and sucking in the souls of the soldiers. When the soldiers saw this, they trembled violently. A figure descended from the sky. It was their sovereign king, Xian'ao. Those who do not fight and flee in fear, no matter what reason they have, will be killed without mercy. Xian'ao shouted coldly. "Yes, your majesty." Everyone trembled. "Greetings, your majesty." The soldiers jumped out of the cold pond, knelt on one knee, and shouted loudly. However, Xian'ao did not pay any attention to them. After killing the few deserters, he directly jumped into the cold pond and headed towards the World Gate. At the same time, the Holy Mother of the River followed him. The two of them arrived in front of the old woman and immediately bowed. Disciple pays his respects to Master. The arrival of the Void Spirit Saint is truly an honor for my Jianghan realm. Xian'ao was unable to welcome you in time. I am ashamed. Chapter 839. The old woman glanced at the two of them, her face filled with a strange sense of contempt. "It's good that you know how to be ashamed." She snorted, raised her walking stick, and rushed out of the cold pond. Xian'ao and the Virgin of the River immediately followed. When the three of them landed on the ground, the Virgin of the River immediately supported the old woman. She was respectful and focused. The old woman did not refuse, but said indifferently, "Disciple, there are so many places in the myriad heavens, and so many powerful spirit cultivators. If you don't choose, why did you come to this kind of small world? And you even found such an incompetent man to be your dual cultivation partner? Don't you think it's not worth it?" Hearing that, Xian'ao's face turned ugly, but he did not dare to be angry. He did not even dare to say a word, and only followed behind. The goddess of the river was also quite helpless. She said softly, "Master is right, but to find a dual cultivation partner is not to find a strong person, but to find a suitable person. I feel that the Sovereign King is very suitable for me." "How stupid!" The Void Spirit Saint snorted, turned his head and stared at Xian'ao, and said, "It is your honor that my disciple can be your dual cultivation partner, but how did you treat me?" "What do you mean by that, Saint?" Xian'ao hurriedly said. "Send your army to surround me and take me down. Is this how you treat your guests?" the Void Spirit Saint said coldly. Hearing that, Xian'ao immediately explained, "The saint has misunderstood. This is all because of the person who stole the dragon abyss pearl. My Jiang country treats the saint like how we treat the imperial teacher. We do not dare to be disrespectful in the slightest. Please calm your anger, Saint." With that, Xian'ao turned his head and shouted to a general who was following him, "Which battalion was it that went down the cold pond just now?" "Reporting to your majesty, it is the 7th Battalion led by General Su Sihu." The general immediately replied, "Including Su Sihu, all the soldiers and generals will be executed. Extract their souls, refine them into myriad soul pills, and offer them to the saint." Xian'ao said solemnly. The general was dumbfounded. "What is it? You also want to be refined into a myriad soul pill?" Xian'ao frowned. The general quivered and hurriedly said, "This general will do it right away." With that, he left with heavy footstep. Seeing this, Xian'ao cupped his fists towards the Void Spirit Saint and said, "Please calm your anger, Saint. For the sake of your sincerity, I will forgive you." The Void Spirit Saint snorted. Her attitude was extremely arrogant, but the smile in her eyes could not be concealed. The Myriad Soul Pill was a high-grade pellet that could only be refined with the souls of 10,000 people above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Although to the Void Spirit Saint, the soul of a 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master was not difficult to obtain, it was extremely difficult to obtain 10,000 of them. Xian'ao's pellet could be considered a great gift. "Thank you for your understanding." Xian'ao quickly bowed again. "Yes." The Void Spirit Saint nodded his head, then said indifferently, "Disciple, why did you invite me to this small world? That long abyssal pearl. What's going on?" "Master, this time, please help us." Of course, the goddess of the river could not help but add fuel to the fire. She understood her master. If she was bullied, she would not let the other party off easily. This person was extremely protective. Sure enough, when the Void Spirit Saint heard this, he was immediately enraged and shouted angrily, "How dare you! You injured my disciple and even stole my disciple's treasure. Who is this person? I must capture him alive and throw him into my void spirit battle array. I will suffer the pain of the void spirit corrosion for all eternity." However, this person has already escaped from the Jianghan realm. Chasing him back is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Xian Ao shook his head and said indifferently. When he and the Holy Mother of the River rushed to the Phoenix Cry Lake's Heart Island, they had already sensed that something was amiss. Although the entire island was shrouded in a blood-red mist, there was no other aura within the mist. Xian Ao used his divine technique to disperse the blood mist, only to realize that it was just a substitute that Su Yun had placed inside. When he realized that he had been lured away from the mountain, he immediately rushed over with the Holy Mother of the River through the teleportation formation, but in the end, he was still a step too late. Su Yun had already left through the entrance, and was afraid that he had already entered the ultimate martial sacred plane. Entering the ultimate martial sacred plane meant entering the ultimate martial world, which was the center of the 10,000 worlds, and was connected to countless realms. No one knew where he would go. However, the Virgin of the River did not give up. "Sovereign King, don't be anxious. Actually, I have already taken precautions against this matter. Previously, when Sovereign King was setting up defenses here, he had already entered the cold pond and personally placed a spiritual imprint at the entrance of the cold pond. As long as he passes through the entrance, I will be able to lock onto his spirit and find his location through his spiritual imprint. However, this person has most likely already swallowed the dragon abyss bead. What's the point of finding him again?" Xian Ao shook his head. "He is not in the Jianghan realm, so it will be very difficult for him to absorb the dragon abyss bead. Even if he has a place to absorb the dragon abyss bead, it will not be a big problem. We can kill him, imprison his soul and body, and bring him back to refine a pill. Although the pill refined cannot compare to the dragon abyss bead, it can still be considered a treasure," the Holy Mother of the River said. Hearing that, Xian Ao's eyes lit up. If that was the case, it could be considered compensation. "Good. Since that's the case, Holy Mother, quickly lock on to that person and see where he is. I will immediately send an expert to capture him." "Send an expert? If you have an expert in this small world, would you still need my disciple to invite me over?" The Void Spirit Saint snorted. Xian Ao's expression was a little ugly, but he still endured it. He bowed to the Void Spirit Saint. "Saint, although this person's cultivation is not high, he has a treasure protecting his body. Swords and blades cannot penetrate his body. This time, I hope that the saint can help me capture this person." Sure. The Void Spirit Saint said indifferently. "However, you said that this person is impervious to blades and has a treasure protecting his body. In that case, this person must have a divine object?" "Most likely so. I can help you capture and kill this person, but you must hand over the treasure on his body to me." This, Xian Ao was a little hesitant. In fact, the reason why he was still persevering was not only because of the Dragon Abyss Pearl, but also because of the treasure on Su Yun's body that allowed him to be invulnerable. With this divine object, Su Yun, a spirit emperor, could ignore the army of the Jiang country. If it was in Xian Ao's hands, he would definitely be a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens, and no one would be able to stop him. What is it? Unwilling? Since that's the case, then forget it. If you can't even capture this person in the Jianghan realm, what else can you do to him once he leaves the Jianghan realm?" The Void Spirit Saint sneered. Hearing that, Xian Ao went silent. After a moment, he chose to compromise. If the saint is willing to make a move, then all of this person's possessions will belong to the saint. Xian Ao will only take the Dragon Abyss Pearl. The Void Spirit Saint snorted, then turned his head to look at the Holy Mother of the River and said, "Disciple, Go and find out the location of that person. We will make our move now. Since he just left the Jianghan realm, he must not have gone far. We will move now and chase after that brat. We should still be able to catch up. Yes, master. The Holy Mother of the River nodded. Without hesitation, she sat up cross-legged and closed her eyes. Her snow-white hands quickly alternated as she formed some sort of seal. A ray of light overflowed from her forehead and shot straight into the clouds. Following that, the ray of light split apart and turned into 8 tiny streams of light that flew into the distance and disappeared into the void. The Virgin of the River immediately opened her eyes and looked straight ahead. Her eyes suddenly turned white and transparent. It was extremely cautious, and there seemed to be something flashing in her pupils. After a moment, everything disappeared and returned to normal. The Holy Mother of the River's expression was a little sluggish. After a moment, she suddenly trembled and recovered. Disciple, have you locked onto his location? The Void Spirit Saint immediately asked in a deep voice. Locked on. The Holy Mother of the River nodded her head. Master, Sovereign King, this person has just entered the ultimate martial world and is currently running towards the demonic blood road. Demonic blood road? Xian'ao frowned. This road leads to the true devil realm. Could it be that he wants to escape to the true devil realm? It's definitely possible. A sinister look flashed past the eyes of the goddess of the rivers. When I fought with this person, I discovered that the profound chi he used contained a trace of devil chi. Maybe he is someone from the true devil realm. True devil realm. The current true devil realm is complicated and not easy to deal with, especially the true devil sect in the true devil realm. After the battle of Supreme One, it is like the sun in the sky. Xian'ao hesitated. The Jianghan realm is not close to the true devil realm. If we were to send experts to the true devil realm to capture this person, I'm afraid it would not be easy. What? Are you afraid? The Void Spirit Saint at the side coldly snorted. With your virtue, do you think you are worthy to be the ruler of a country? What a joke. You're such a coward. You'd better go into seclusion. Facing the ridicule of the Void Spirit Saint, Xian'ao did not dare to refute a single word and could only silently endure it. He secretly clenched his fists and did not say a word. On the other hand, the Holy Mother of the River felt that something was wrong. She could tell that her master did not like the monarch, so she said, Master, what should we do now? What else can I do? Go straight to the true devil realm. The Void Spirit Saint snorted. Since Master has made such a decision, your disciple will definitely support it. Sovereign King, what do you think? I will send my expeditionary army to the true devil realm. Xian'ao took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, There is nothing that I, Xian'ao, cannot obtain. Good, you have guts. This is what the ruler of a country should say. The Void Spirit Saint finally praised Xian'ao and said, Don't worry with this old one here, even if that guy is hiding in the true devil sect, I will definitely be able to find him. Saint, when are we leaving? Gather the experts immediately, we will leave immediately. My disciple's spiritual imprint will not last long. All right. Xian'ao nodded and immediately summoned the general beside him. Gather the troops, he shouted in a low voice. Chapter 840. When he passed through the entrance, he had already felt something sneaking into his mind, wanting to pry into his consciousness. Although this thing was weak and would not last for long, it was extremely difficult to remove. If he was not careful, it would damage his brain and destroy his consciousness, which would definitely have an impact on his spirit. The Holy Mother of the River was indeed an expert in the profound technique. Su Yun had never encountered such a thing before. However, since he couldn't get rid of it, he could only wait for it to disappear. Su Yun did not know what the specific use of the spirit imprint was, but after thinking about it carefully, the possibility of it locking onto his position was extremely high. This kind of thing did not contain much energy, it was not enough to kill a spirit emperor, and this was the only possibility. Perhaps Xian Ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers would not give up and would still come looking for trouble with him. Su Yun did not think that Xian Ao would let him go so easily. With his temperament, he would definitely not let it go so easily. If he were to return to the ultimate martial sacred plane now, it would only cause more trouble for his master. Once Xian Ao chased after him, it would only cause chaos in the sacred plane. The true devil sect was extremely powerful, and no matter what, it was still considered the territory of the devil cultivator. As the demon lord, Su Yun would more or less be protected. Although he had to trouble Octagon Aniseed again, the situation was special. Su Yun was not willing to get entangled with the people from the Jiang Han realm, so he settled them all in one go. The Devil Blood Road was already filled with demonic energy. The closer they got to the end, the denser the demonic energy became. After walking to the end of the Devil Blood Road, Su Yun passed through the gate and stepped into the true Devil Realm. However, as soon as he stepped out of the door, a hard barrier blocked his way. Hua 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 hua. The sound of a large amount of air clashing came out. Su Yun's entire body seemed to be pushed by countless of large hands. He was caught off guard and almost fell back. In a moment of desperation, he immediately activated the Imperial Battle Robe and released his divine power. Only then did the pushing force dissipate. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At the same time, countless pitch-black figures rushed over from all directions. The devil chi instantly enveloped Su Yun, but when it touched the god power, it was completely devoured. "Who is it?" A cold shout rang out. Su Yun looked over, only to see a few devil cultivators standing not far from him. "I am the true devil sex demon lord Su Yun. Who are you?" Su Yun did not stand on ceremony. He immediately took out his order badge and shouted, "Demon Monarch." The leader of the devil cultivator was startled, looking at the order badge in Su Yun's hand. He immediately took a few steps forward and knelt down on one knee. "So it's Lord Devil Monarch. Your subordinate has offended you, please punish me. Those who don't know are innocent. Besides, this is the first time we've met, so it's only natural that you don't know me," Su Yun said, then looked around and realized that the entrance to the demon realm was actually covered with dozens of extremely terrifying enchantments. These enchantments were wrapped in layer after layer, densely packed, and the aura floating above was definitely not something that an existence like the Spirit Emperor could possess. Did something happen in the true devil realm? Su Yun frowned and asked, "What's going on? Why are there so many barriers at the entrance?" "Reporting to my lord, this is the order given by the Vice Sect Master Chi 7 days ago. He had already ordered the realm to be sealed. Without his permission, no one is allowed to enter or leave the true devil realm," the fiend kind said. "Is that so?" Su Yun frowned. "Wasn't the Supreme Sect destroyed? Logically speaking, the true devil sect should not have any enemies, so why would they take such precautions? Against whom? Where is the eight-toothed sect master?" Su Yun asked. "Reporting to my lord, the vice sect master just happened to be inspecting the defensive line. He is in the tent at the back." "Tent? Could it be that the true devil sect had formed an army?" Su Yun was startled, then said, "Quickly bring me to find him." "Yes, Lord Devil Lord, this way please." The devil cultivator led Su Yun to the camp at the back, while the other devil cultivator continued to guard outside the gate. The devil cultivator opened the enchantment and Su Yun walked out. At this moment, he realized that what he had seen at the entrance was just the tip of the iceberg. The surroundings of the true devil realm's entrance were densely packed, as far as the eye could see. They were all devil cultivator. Innumerable high platforms, innumerable formations, innumerable magical puppets, innumerable sabers, all of this densely packed together, so packed that not even a drop of water could trickle through. A murderous aura accompanied the devil chi as it swayed in the air. In this pitch-black world, pairs of bloody eyes flickered like stars in the night sky, giving off a solemn and terrifying feeling. When Su-yun walked down, the devil cultivator all raised their heads to look at him. The tens of thousands of pairs of blood-red eyes gave off an indescribable sense of oppression. "This is the Lord Devil, Lord of the true devil sect. Why aren't you paying your respects?" the devil cultivator immediately shouted. With that said, the devil cultivator immediately stood up and cupped their fists towards Su-yun. This subordinate pays his respects to the demon lord. "Greetings, demon lord." The surrounding people stood up and shouted. Those who heard it from afar also stood up and cupped their fists as they shouted. As a result, the devil cultivators that were all over the mountains and plains all stood up and shouted loudly. Seeing that, Su-yun could not help but smile bitterly. There was no need to look for Octagon Aniseed now. He believed that Octagon Aniseed was already heading over here, sure enough. The loud shouts did not last for long before a grand voice once again echoed in the distance. "Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader." The two voices of greetings seemed to overlap. The scene was extremely noisy, and the sound shook the heavens. Su-yun looked forward, and saw Octagon Aniseed and a group of higher-ups of the true devil sect walking over quickly. A trace of excitement appeared in Octagon Aniseed's eyes, and the elders of the true devil sect had blazing expressions. They were extremely excited. Ever since the battle of the Supreme Devil, Su-yun had lost track of him. Octagon Aniseed had sent people everywhere to search for him, and finally received news from the ultimate martial sacred plane. At that time, if Su-yun did not cover the retreat of Octagon Aniseed and the rest, at least half of the people who could stand here would have been gone. Seeing that Su-yun had returned safely, the demons were overjoyed, and had a new opinion of Su-yun's strength. To be able to face the Grand Guard and the other experts by himself, not only did he successfully stall them, he even managed to escape unscathed. What kind of strength did he have to possess to be able to do this? "Ha ha, Lord Devil Lord, it's great that you have returned safely, ha ha." Octagon Aniseed's unique young girl's voice floated over again. He, a delicate and pretty fellow who looked like a child, walked in front of a group of tall and sturdy devil cultivator with blood-red eyes, looking out of place. However, he was the famous vice sect master of the true devil sect. No one dared to look down on him. A smile appeared on Su-yun's face, and he walked over. Before he could move, Octagon Aniseed stepped forward and hugged him fiercely. "Welcome back." He chuckled softly. "Yes." Su-yun nodded his head. He wanted to say something, but felt that if he said anything else, it would be a little excessive. He released Su-yun and sized him up from head to toe. His eyes were filled with surprise. "It's been a long time since we last met. Your strength has increased by quite a bit. Demon Lord, it seems like you've had a fortuitous encounter?" "Not bad, not bad." "Fortuitous encounter? I guess so, but it's not a good fortuitous encounter." Su-yun laughed bitterly. "What is it? What happened?" Octagon Aniseed asked. "It's a long story. Let's go back first." Su-yun sighed. "All right." Octagon Aniseed nodded, and then led Su-yun to the big tent at the back. The tent was heavily guarded, and there were guards inside and outside. Not only that, there were also enchantments and traps, making it look like a fortress. The more Su-yun looked, the more suspicious he became. He contacted the army outside, and could not help but ask, "Octagon Aniseed, what exactly is going on? Where did the devil cultivator outside come from? The true devil sect doesn't seem to have that many people, right? Unless Octagon Aniseed even pulled the real devil sect over, it would be impossible to gather so many devil cultivators. These are the armies that I have gathered. Many of them are elites from the various powers of the true devil realm, and I have placed them here to build a defensive line to deal with the incoming enemies." Octagon Aniseed said. The incoming enemy? Su Yun frowned. Who? The people from the Supreme Sect. Octagon Aniseed said in a deep voice. The people from the Supreme Sect? Su Yun's heart jumped. He swept a glance at the people present. All of them were elders of the true Devil Sect. They were all people who followed the sect master. They were naturally trustworthy. He took a deep breath and said, The Supreme Sect has already been destroyed. How could they still have people? As soon as he said this, the tent immediately fell silent. The hearts of the two devils and the rest suddenly jumped. Their eyes opened wide as they looked at Su Yun. Octagon Aniseed was silent. When the atmosphere in the tent had solidified to the point that it could freeze water, he slowly opened his mouth. Actually, I had already guessed that you were the one who destroyed the Supreme Sect. I should have told you earlier, but the situation was a little urgent at that time. I can understand. You don't want to know how I did it. That's not important. Octagon Aniseed smiled slightly. I only know that our true Devil Sect's demon lord did not humiliate our true Devil Sect. This is enough. However, in order to destroy this sect, no matter what methods he used, no matter what kind of circumstances he experienced, it was not something that ordinary people could understand. Furthermore, there was no need for him to care about this. He only needed to know that all of this was done by the Demon Lord. That was enough. No matter how much he asked, what was the point? Sometimes, understanding was more important than understanding. The other Devil Cultivator elders were also silent, but at this moment, they were not only looking at Su Yun with respect, but also with endless worship, their eyes burning with passion. Such a magnificent feat was unique in all the realms. Then, who exactly is the person from the Supreme Sect? Just then, Su Yun asked again. This question was what Su Yun was most concerned about. Chapter 841. If it was just an ordinary existence, Octagon Aniseed would not have mobilized so many people and used the power of the true Devil Realm. The true Devil Sect had always kept a low profile, and had never formed any enmity with others. This time, the Supreme Sect had come looking for them. They had nowhere to retreat, and could only choose to fight. However, now that the Supreme Sect had been destroyed by Su Yun, who would dare to provoke the true Devil Sect? After all, outsiders did not know about this matter, and everyone thought that everything was done by the true Devil Sect. If that was the case, the voice of the true Devil Sect would definitely overflow the heavens, and their might would shake the 10,000 worlds. Who would dare to touch their eyebrows at this critical juncture? Actually, I didn't tell anyone about this matter. After a long while, Octagon Aniseed, who was sitting at the top, sighed and said slowly. Pairs of eyes looked at him, and there was even a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Previously, Octagon Aniseed had always been secretive, and had always spoken halfway. Now that things had come to this, if he continued to hide it, it would only harm everyone. The reason why I didn't explain it to you was because I was worried that you would be afraid of the enemy. However, now that things have come to this point, it doesn't matter if I say it or not. You will know sooner or later, and they will probably come soon. As these words fell, everyone's nerves tensed up. It won't be long before they arrive? Who could it be? They do not belong to the Supreme Sect, but they have an extremely close relationship with the Supreme Sect. They would not interfere in the great battle between the Supreme Sect and us, but now that the Supreme Sect has been destroyed and the Supreme Sect Lord has fallen, this enemy will definitely not sit idly by and do nothing. I guess that they have already started to plan, and are preparing to make a move against my true Devil Sect, to take revenge for the Supreme Sect. This sect they are sects that belong to the immortal world. It's called the Immortal Seeking Sect. Immortal sect? All the elders present were shocked. What is it? Are you afraid? Octagon Aniseed snorted and said, This Immortal Seeking Sect is actually just a force that was separated from an immortal sect. They do not have a complete cultivation system, and strictly speaking, they can only be called a half-immortal sect. Back then, my devil sect's great demon Lord Changgu and Lord Enemo relied on their own strength to kill their way into the immortal king's palace. That is truly looking down on the three realms. Now that my true devil sect has fallen to such a state, do you even fear a half-immortal? When the elders heard this, they lowered their heads in shame. Since we've decided, let's fight. Don't worry about the power of the immortal-seeking sect. If we avoid the fight, they will be even more arrogant. Moreover, there is no way out now. If they are from an immortal sect, they will have many tricks up their sleeves. It's useless to avoid them. At this moment, Su Yun spoke. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head and said, "The demon lord is right. The magic tools used by the immortals are not something my magic tools can compare to. They are profound and bizarre. Forget about the entire true devil sect. Even if an ant hides, it will definitely be found by them. Since the enmity has already been formed, other than fighting them, there is no other choice. I prepared early. I did not want to be in a hurry, and be caught off guard by the other party." "So you integrated most of the forces in the devil realm and gathered them together?" Su Yun said. "That's right." Octagon Aniseed nodded his head and said solemnly, "In truth, this is not only a crisis for the true devil sect, it is also a crisis for the entire true devil realm. Immortals have always hated us devil cultivator, and if I am not wrong, once my true devil sect is eradicated by the immortal-seeking sect, the immortal-seeking sect will take the opportunity to sweep through the entire true devil realm." "Sweep through the true devil realm?" Su Yun frowned. "Is there a need for that? Can their immortal-seeking sect really contend against the entire realm?" "It's very necessary." Octagon Aniseed nodded his head. "There are two reasons. Firstly, the immortal world has always hated our demon realm, because the formation of the true devil realm has an inseparable connection with the immortal world. The people who created the true devil realm back then actually came from the immortal world, and the true devil realm had always been viewed as their humiliation by the people of the immortal world. They could use the devil cultivator's soul to refine their so-called immortal pills and immortal equipment, and the people of the immortal world did not dare to kill each other. There was strict discipline there, and there were laws and restrictions. If an immortal fell, he would definitely be captured by the law enforcement immortals, and the law enforcement immortals could deal with any immortal who violated the rules at will, even refining them alive. For this reason, whenever these immortals needed something, they would travel to different realms. The immortal world also had restrictions on them, and they could not act presumptuously in those weak realms. However, they could find an excuse to defend themselves, and now that they were dealing with the true devil realm, they were using revenge as an excuse. The cultivation system of the immortal-seeking sect was not perfect. It was all because their own scale was too small, and they were unable to invite experts to explain it. If they were to plunder the huge resources of the true devil realm, it would be enough for them to jump into the ranks of the official powers of the immortal world. As for whether or not I can contend against the true devil realm, I am not sure. After all, I do not know how powerful the immortal-seeking sect is. When everyone heard this, they immediately understood. We must not let them succeed. No matter how strong the immortal-seeking sect is, we are not afraid. We must give this group of sanctimonious people a painful blow. The inner demon stood up and said with a firm attitude, "That's right, in the ancient times there were two supreme experts, Changgu and Enemo, who attacked the immortal world. Today we will imitate them, defeat the immortal-seeking sect, and kill our way to their lair." Right, fight them. The morale of the devil cultivator was high. I know that everyone is not afraid of battle. Octagon Aniseed swept his gaze across the crowd and said in a deep voice, "But this is already a war, a war. It's not just a moment of emotion, it also requires a brain." His expression was very serious. When everyone heard this, they all looked at him, as if they were waiting for his next words. Su Yun was no exception. He stared at Octagon Aniseed and asked, "Do you already have a plan?" "No." Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly relaxed as he laughed. The scene was silent for a while, then all the Devil Cultivator elders turned their heads and looked outside the tent. Everyone's expression was strange and dazzling, and each of them had a different expression. "I say, can you have the appearance of a vice-sect leader?" Su Yun shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, "I really can't think of anything, can I?" Octagon Aniseed scratched his head. "Is there any news from the immortal-seeking sect?" "Not yet, but I've already sent people to monitor them." "What is it? You even sent the Devil Cultivator to the immortal world? How is that possible? The Devil Chi is like a drop of chilly water dripping into your eyes. To immortals, it is very stimulating. If I send the Devil Cultivator to the immortal world, I'm afraid that before I can go far, I will be swallowed alive by those immortals." Octagon Aniseed said with his eyes wide open. "Then where are you monitoring it from?" "Supreme Sect." Octagon Aniseed smiled. "Actually, I still have some understanding of this immortal-seeking sect. There are several spatial cracks in the Supreme Realm that have been transformed into a realm entrance by the people of the Supreme Sect, and the realm entrance to the immortal world is also one of them, so the people of the immortal-seeking sect will definitely enter from the Supreme Sect. At this moment, there are my eyes everywhere in the Supreme Realm. As long as the immortal-seeking sect enters the Supreme Realm, I will know immediately. Vice-sect leader has already set up many traps inside and outside the Supreme Realm. As long as the people of the immortal-seeking sect enter the realm, they will definitely fall into the trap. At that time, even if they do not suffer a great deal of damage to their vitality, they will at least be covered in dust." The two devils laughed. As soon as he said this, everyone present immediately understood everything. This was the reason why Octagon Aniseed had sealed off the Supreme Realm. "It seems like you've already made preparations. That's good. A prepared battle will at least have a higher chance of winning." Su Yun nodded. "Let's not talk about this now." Octagon Aniseed suddenly stood up and said, "I almost forgot, Demon Lord, sect leader once told me that once you return to the true Devil Realm, you must immediately follow me to the sect." "What is it? Does the sect leader have something to say?" "There is indeed something, but it's not tape. I want you to go to a place." "Where?" Su Yun was puzzled. "Ancient tomb," Octagon Aniseed said in a low voice. Hearing that, Su Yun vaguely understood something. His expression did not change. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said indifferently, "Time is of the essence. Let's set off now." "Yes." Octagon Aniseed turned his head and said to the two devils, "Elder Eremo, you stay here for the time being. You are in charge of everything here. If there is anything urgent, you must inform me immediately." "Yes, Vice-Sect Leader." The two devils nodded. In addition, the recruitment of soldiers cannot be relaxed. Any devil cultivator that comes to enter the sect must pass a strict examination before they can be recruited. Those fierce devil-s will be organized into a team by themselves and let the evil demon manage them. "Understood." "Yes." Octagon Aniseed nodded, and then walked out of the tent with Su Yun. However, after walking a few steps, Su Yun suddenly stopped. "Let's wait first." Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then said, "What's wrong?" "I suddenly remembered that there might be something I haven't taken care of yet." "What is it?" Octagon Aniseed asked. Su Yun then told Octagon Aniseed about the evil Chi and the dragon Abyss Pearl. Octagon Aniseed quietly listened. His expression was blank for a moment, then he said, "You mean to say, the people from Jiang Han Realm will chase after us to the true Devil Realm? That should be the case. Maybe they are already on their way." Su Yun said helplessly, "I should take care of these people first, then return to the Devil Sect, so as to not cause any more trouble. A bunch of mobs, why bother with them?" Octagon Aniseed was a little confused. However, at this moment, a devil cultivator rushed over from afar. Report. What's wrong? Octagon Aniseed turned his head and asked. Reporting to Vice Sect Leader, someone has entered the realm and is attacking our barrier. Who is so bold? A devil cultivator elder said angrily. I don't know his identity for now. The barrier is thick and they haven't broken it yet. Go and ask them who they are. If they are from the Jiang Han realm, let them in. Octagon Aniseed said. Yes, sir. The devil cultivator cupped his fists and left. Chapter 842. Dong, dong, dong. One after another, muffled sounds rang out from the entrance of the true devil realm. A large number of soldiers were surrounding the boundary entrance and frantically bombarding the barrier outside the boundary entrance. Blade lights and sword shadows overlapped, and all sorts of dazzling profound techniques bombarded the barrier like raindrop. However, the barrier did not move at all, and was as firm as a rock. Smash, smash it hard for me! A general stood behind the soldiers and shouted loudly. When the soldiers heard this, they gritted their teeth and continued to crazily attack the barrier. However, no matter how hard the soldiers tried, they were unable to break through the barrier. It was like an iron wall that could not be broken by human strength. Damn it! What are you all doing eating? Are all of them weak-legged prawns? Give me all your strength, use your anger. Faster! Faster! Seeing that the barrier wasn't damaged at all, the general became anxious. What's going on? General Zhang, why hasn't the barrier been opened yet? At this moment, a voice came from behind. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw Xian Ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers being escorted by a group of generals. When General Zhang heard this, he immediately walked over, cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty. What's going on? Xian Ao's face darkened. Your Majesty, this barrier is too thick, it doesn't seem like an ordinary barrier. We have spent a great deal of effort, but we are still unable to destroy this barrier. General Zhang's face turned ugly. Hearing that, Xian Ao coldly snorted, The barrier can't be destroyed? Why don't you say you're incompetent? Trash, I will give you another half an incense stick of time. If you are unable to break the barrier, I will take your head and break it. When General Zhang heard this, his entire body trembled, and he hurriedly said in a low voice, Yes, Your Majesty, this general will definitely break through it in half an incense stick of time. Xian Ao snorted and did not say anything else. However, he did not leave either. He only stood quietly at the back, staring at the soldiers knocking on the barrier. However, this continued for more than 10 minutes, but the barrier still did not move at all. Xian Ao's face also darkened. It was not normal for a world entrance to have a barrier set up. Normally, it would only be done when the world was defending against a powerful enemy. However, this kind of action could only be done by the leader of a world. If the world was not unified, it would be impossible for a world entrance to be sealed, because no one had the authority to do so. Xian Ao naturally knew that the true devil realm had not been unified. Even though the true devil sect was like the sun in the sky, he had not made a move yet, and the true devil realm had not spread this news. Then, who was the one who set up this barrier? Disciple, what's going on? Why did the army stop moving? At this moment, the border flashed once again. The Void Spirit Saint holding a walking stick walked over with a hunched back. Sage. Master. Xian Ao and the Virgin of the Rivers hurriedly bowed. Master, the entrance has been sealed. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for us to break through. Goddess of the Rivers said with some difficulty. Sealed by someone? The Void Spirit Saint frowned and said, Could it be that kid who did it? Maybe it's possible. That person even has a divine object. Maybe they guessed that we were coming, so they specially set up this barrier to prevent us from entering and stall for time. Xian Ao said in a deep voice. A deathbed struggle. The Void Spirit Saint said coldly, all of you, get out of the way. I will break this barrier. Xian Ao waved his hand. Get out of the way. When the general heard this, he already treated the Void Spirit Saint as a bodhisattva. Since she wanted to go up, why would General Zhang insist? He quickly shouted, everyone get out of the way. Yes, sir. The soldiers all retreated, making room for the Void Spirit Saint to walk towards the barrier. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound suddenly came from outside the barrier. Everyone was shocked. They anxiously looked forward, only to see the barrier in front of them suddenly emitting bursts of light. Soon after, the barrier started to flicker, and then quickly dimmed down. Such a phenomenon was extremely shocking. A soldier quickly walked over and checked. He then cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, the barrier has disappeared. It disappeared? Xian Ao's eyebrows twitched. Everything was fine. Why did it disappear? The Virgin of the River was puzzled. If the barrier doesn't maintain its energy for a long time, it will dissipate. Furthermore, the barrier is so powerful and the energy it consumes is also extremely large. The barrier left behind by that brat won't be able to stop us for long. The Void Spirit Saint snorted. No matter what, disciple, lock onto that brat's position. We will enter the realm and look for him. Yes, sir. Master, the Virgin of the River said. Immediately, the Virgin of the River closed her eyes and activated her technique again. Everyone waited quietly. After a while, the Virgin of the River opened her eyes, her face revealing a look of deep shock. Disciple, what's wrong? The Void Spirit Saint frowned and asked in a deep voice. This. The Virgin of the River hesitated for a moment, then closed her eyes to check on Su Yun's position, and then said with an ugly expression, Master, this disciple doesn't know what's going on. That person, he's right in front of us, right in front. The Void Spirit Saint and Xian Ao were both stunned. In front? What's going on? Heh, could it be that that brat knew that we were coming and specially came here to welcome us? The Void Spirit Saint sneered again and again. His walking stick clanged against the ground as he said, You don't have to be afraid. Follow me and take that brat's body and soul to refine pills for you. After she finished speaking, she walked forward. Although her figure was stooped and small, she was filled with an imposing manner. Seeing that, Xian Ao did not hesitate and followed along. Since the Void Spirit Saint had already said that, was he still going to retreat? The Virgin of the River wanted to say something, but when the words reached her mouth, she couldn't say anything. However, the general roared, Advance! Immediately after, countless of Jiang Han's troops began to advance towards the entrance of the true Devil Realm. The Virgin of the River, Xian Ao, and the Void Spirit Saint were surrounded by a large number of experts from the Jiang country. The entire army was vast and mighty, with an imposing aura like a rainbow. My Jiang country's army has never crossed borders before. This is the first time we have mobilized so many people for the sake of this little thief who stole the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Xian Ao glanced at the troops on both sides and said, The Sovereign King is famous. In the future, he will rule over all realms. The Virgin of the River said. Xian Ao laughed out loud, but didn't say anything else as he walked forward. Although this was the territory of the true Devil Realm, Xian Ao believed that the various Devil Cultivators of the true Devil Realm would not go against the Jiang Han Realm because of such a person. However, the army in front suddenly slowed down as they walked. After taking a few more steps, the entire army stopped. Xian Ao immediately frowned. What's going on? What the hell was the person in front doing? Why did he stop? Hurry up and move forward. Faster. The leading general hurriedly stepped forward and shouted loudly. The soldiers behind him also whispered to each other as they tiptoed to take a look. They didn't know what was happening in front of them. The Void Spirit Saint's expression was somewhat ugly. Obviously, her patience was not good, and Xian Ao was about to wear out all of her patience. Perhaps we've encountered another barrier. Saint, please wait patiently. The army will continue to set off soon. Xian Ao seemed to have noticed the Void Spirit Saint's displeasure and quickly said, "Humph." The Void Spirit Saint snorted but did not say anything. However, after waiting for a while, the army still did not move. Not only did he not move, even the general who had gone ahead to scout did not return. Xian Ao was secretly shocked. He felt that something was wrong and immediately ran forward towards the front of the army. His footsteps were very fast, and the soldiers in front of him all made way for Xian Ao to walk past. At first, the soldiers were still suspicious and kept looking forward. However, when they reached the front, Xian Ao discovered that all the soldiers had stopped moving. It was as if they had been petrified as they stared blankly at the front. What the hell happened? Xian Ao shouted sternly. "Ah yes. It's your Majesty." The general was the first to regain his senses and quickly lowered his head. Why did the army stop moving forward? What had happened? Hurry up and advance. Faster! Xian Ao's eyes were filled with anger and his voice was exceptionally cold. The general lowered his head but did not say anything. He only waved his hand and the soldiers in front of him immediately opened up a path. Xian Ao looked over. At that moment, it was as if he had been struck by lightning, and he froze on the spot. Devil Cultivator. His eyes were completely captivated by the scene in front of him. Devil Cultivator-s that covered the mountains and plains. There were countless Devil Cultivator-s. They were all around the entrance. Xian Ao stared blankly. His expression had completely frozen. The anger and hostility from before had long disappeared without a trace. In the sky and on the ground, there were Devil Cultivator-s. All of them had strong and tall bodies, pairs of blood-red and ruthless demon eyes. The devil chi that filled the sky dyed the entire true devil realm pitch black, as if it was the end of the world. The soldiers at the front row were already trembling. They looked at the Devil Cultivator in fear. They did not dare to move forward anymore, and even started to retreat. In this kind of situation, how could they dare to move forward? "All of you, hold on! Hold on!" Xian Ao came back to his senses, clenched his teeth, and growled. The general was stunned for a moment before he quickly shouted, "Hold on! Don't panic! Don't panic, you know! All of you, calm down! All of you, advance and let the troops at the back in! Faster!" His Majesty and the general had already spoken. No matter how afraid these soldiers were, they didn't dare to refute. The army was stuck at this narrow entrance, unable to advance or retreat. The situation would only get worse. One after another, Jiang Guojun began to walk out of the World Gate and arrange themselves outside. The people's formation was rather sloppy. Their attention was all focused on their surroundings. Their morale had already been shaken to the lowest point by the countless devil dwellers. Although Xian Ao did not bring all of the troops from the Jiang country with him, at least half of the elites had followed him, at least 100,000 of them. Compared to these densely packed Devil Cultivator, the army of the Jiang country was simply too weak. Chapter 843. The Void Spirit Saint and the Holy Mother of the River also walked out of the entrance. When the two of them saw the situation around them, their expressions immediately turned serious. Why are there so many demonic dwellers? What's going on? When Goddess of the Rivers saw the scenery in front of her, her face turned pale. For no reason at all, why would so many Devil Cultivator-s gather at the entrance of the true Devil Realm? Are they defending against something? Or could it be that these demons were here to deal with Jiang Han? The generals quickly arranged the army. However, facing the fierce and ruthless devil dwellers from all directions, the Jiang Han army paled in comparison. The soldiers of the Jiang country trembled as they looked at the countless people in front of them. All of their hands that were holding onto their weapons started to tremble. The devil chi that rippled in the air was so thick that it could suffocate them, but at this moment, they could only brace themselves and stand there. Xian Ao's face was extremely ugly, and his heart was in chaos. Although he had led the army here, before he even entered the realm, he already had such a powerful force. Could it be that the devil cultivator knew that the Jiang country was coming, and specially set up a formation here? If that was the case, then the people of the devil world were too enthusiastic. However, Xian Ao never knew which power in the demon realm could have such a large army. The weakest of the devil cultivators here were all above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, and the number of Spirit Emperors were even more uncountable. Whether it was in terms of numbers or individual strength, who knew where the Jiang country army had gone to, and how could they possibly contend against it? Don't be afraid. With me here, these demons won't be able to do anything to you. As if sensing the fear in the surrounding people, the Void Spirit Saint spoke. She walked over with the support of her walking stick. Her dim old eyes looked at everything around her, but there was not the slightest hint of fear. Instead, her face was filled with arrogance. The Void Spirit Saint's words finally gave Xian Ao some comfort. He cupped his fists and said, "With the saint here, Xian Ao is not afraid of the devil cultivator." Yes. The Void Spirit Saint nodded his head, looking at the devil cultivator that covered the mountains and plains. He said, "But this is too abnormal. Why are there so many devil cultivators gathered here? Are they here to deal with us? If that's the case, then these devil dwellers are too cowardly. Such a big battle, it's really interesting." Her words were full of sarcasm, and she didn't try to cover it up. Her voice was slightly loud, and it traveled far. When the people of Jiang heard this, their tense nerves relaxed a little. Although they did not know what kind of existence the Void Spirit Saint was, seeing how respectful Xian Ao was towards him, they felt that he was definitely an extraordinary person. "Sovereign King Master, that person is here." At this moment, the Virgin of the Rivers suddenly exclaimed in a low voice. When the two of them heard this, they immediately looked forward. The pitch-black tide of devil cultivator in the distance suddenly split open, and a group of devil cultivator walked over. The two people at the front were especially eye-catching. One of them was wearing a loose robe, and his face was not as sinister as the other devil cultivators. Instead, he was very delicate and pretty like a child, and the other person, it was the guy who had seized the dragon abyss bead. Su Yun. The person standing beside Su Yun slowly walked over. His movements were a little clumsy, and a faint smile hung on his face. When he was not far away from Xian Ao and the others, he stopped, and said with a clear and pleasant voice, "Who are you? Stinking brat, who are you?" The Virgin of the River said indifferently, "Me? I'm a little devil cultivator." That guy gave a simple and honest smile. Only a ghost would believe it. Everyone despised him. He scratched the back of his head and said, "Then, who are you? Why did you attack the barrier we set up? Are you guys going to attack the true devil realm? Bring so many people here, I'm so scared." Seeing the child's fearful expression, Xian Ao felt as if he had been underestimated. He immediately became angry and snorted. "I'm afraid, we did not come here to seek the devil cultivator's bad luck, but to obtain an item for that guy." Xian Ao stared at Su Yun. "You're here for him?" That guy glanced at Su Yun, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "What did he take from you? Is there a need to muster such a large force?" "That belongs to me." Xian Ao growled. That guy's eyes widened as he said, "You call yourself Shen? Are you the king?" "I am the king of the Jiang country, the realm master of the Jiang Han realm." Xian Ao snorted, his words revealing a sense of arrogance. "Wow, amazing! Amazing!" He revealed a look of shock, then sized up Xian Ao from head to toe, then shook his head. But if you don't say it, I really can't tell that you are the king of the realm master. TSK, 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 it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. You. Xian Ao was instantly enraged. But even though you are the king, you can't just casually break the rules, can you? This is the true devil realm, and this enchantment was painstakingly set up by us. How can you casually make a move? That won't do. Then, what do you want? Without waiting for Xian Ao to speak, the Void Spirit Saint snorted and said, If my guess is correct, this is the famous vice-sect leader of the Eight-Tooth Sect, right? You know me? That guy was stunned for a moment before he said. Outsiders say that the appearance of the Eight-Tooth is completely different from the other demons, like a young child. The devil cultivators here are all powerful, but their eyes are filled with respect when they look at you, so I guess that you are most likely Eight-Tooth. The Void Spirit Saint said unhurriedly. Hearing this, he clapped his hands and laughed. You have good eyesight, you have guessed correctly, I am Octagon Aniseed. Hee, it's not as good as meeting you. The Eight-Toothed Sovereign is indeed as you said. The Void Spirit Saint chuckled. It was unknown whether it was praise or sarcasm. However, he didn't care at all. He stared at the Void Spirit Saint and the others and asked with a smile, All right, let's not talk about this useless nonsense anymore. You guys should hurry up and give me an explanation. Explanation? What explanation? Xian Ao frowned. Do you need me to say more? Octagon Aniseed suddenly retracted his smile, revealing an ice-cold face in front of everyone. His voice was also filled with killing intent and hostility as he said coldly, Who allowed you to attack the barrier set up by my devil sect? What? Are you choosing our true devil sect? His words revealed an extremely domineering aura. As soon as these words fell, Xian Ao's face suddenly turned snow-white. He had defeated the army of the Han Empire and heavily injured the Han Empire. The strength of the Han Empire had already dropped to an unprecedented level, and swallowing the Han Empire to dominate the Jiang Han realm was only a matter of time for him. However, he understood that even if he really became the realm master of the Jiang Han realm, he would still not be able to contend against the real devil sect. This power. But even the supreme sect had been defeated. What a big hat! The Void Spirit Saint snorted. We did not know that you had already used a barrier to seal the entrance, that's why we attacked. If you did not seal the realm, how could we do this? Furthermore, this old one did not come here to provoke the true devil sect, but to capture that brat. A-toothed sovereign, this old one does not like trouble, but is not afraid of trouble. We only want that dragon abyss bead. If you let him hand it over, we will immediately leave. Dragon abyss bead? I've been using it for a long time. Su Yun said indifferently. What? Xian Ao clenched his fists and looked at Su Yun with eyes filled with hatred. Did you hear that? The dragon abyss bead has been used up, so we can't give you the dragon abyss bead. It doesn't matter if I use it. The Void Spirit Saint said solemnly, As long as the Eight-Toothed Sovereign hands this person over to us, it will be the same. Give him to you? When he heard this, his eyes suddenly turned blood-red. The devil chi and baleful aura all over his body surged out like a flood. In that instant, his entire person became different, aggressive, and terrifying. In that instant, he was no longer courteous to these people. Instead, he was filled with hostility. The Void Spirit Saint's face changed slightly as he retreated. Xian Ao and the others were unable to resist the might and hastily retreated. The soldiers at the very front were already trembling from the aura, and some even fell to the ground. At the same time, all the devil cultivators that covered the mountains and plains stood up. Their demon eyes became even redder, their devil chi became even stronger, and within the devil chi, there was also a terrifying killing intent. They walked down the hill and walked towards the entrance step by step. Their auras were oppressive, and their might was so strong that it was suffocating. The people of Jiang panicked. All of them moved toward Xian'ao, their formation almost collapsing. Steady! All of you, steady yourself! The generals ran around, shouting loudly. No one could understand why these devil cultivator would be like this, and completely view these people of Jiang as their enemies. The Void Spirit Saint was the same. She had long since sensed that something was wrong, and her pair of dim old eyes stared intently at the 8 teeth. He only saw Octagon Aniseed raise his hand. In that moment, all the devil cultivators stopped moving, and stood in place, looking at the people of Jiang. Octagon Aniseed looked at the Void Spirit Saint and said in a low voice, "Do you know who he is?" He pointed at Su Yun, but Su Yun's face was calm. The Void Spirit Saint raised his eyebrows. He heard Octagon Aniseed continue. "He is my true devil sex demon lord. Do you want us to hand the demon lord over?" His voice grew louder and louder, and by the time he reached the last 3 words, he was practically shouting them out. "Kill!" In that instant, all the devil cultivators that covered the mountains and plains were enraged, all of them shouting at the top of their lungs. The killing intent in the blood-red eyes seemed to be able to swallow all of the people of Jiang completely. He wanted the true devil sect to hand over the demon lord. How could the devil cultivator tolerate such a thing? The Void Spirit Saint was finally unable to calm down. She gripped her walking stick tightly and looked around with an ugly expression. At this moment, Xian'ao and the rest finally understood that the person who seized the Dragon Abyss bead was actually the demon lord of the true devil sect. Chapter 844. The shouts did not stop. These demons seemed to be enraged as they roared nonstop. Demonic chi dyed the sky so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Jiang Guobing's vision was hazy, and he could only see that there were strong figures surrounding him. In terms of momentum, Jiang Guojun had already been utterly defeated. At this moment, even Xian'ao no longer had any confidence. Facing this infamous demon realm army, just relying on him alone was not enough. The Virgin of the River leaned close to him and stared at the surroundings. So that's how it is. I was wondering who would dare to be so bold as to run to the Jiang Han realm alone to steal treasures. So it was the demon lord of the true devil sect. At this moment, the Void Spirit Saint spoke again with a hint of ridicule in his voice. He didn't say anything and continued to look at her. Being stared at by Octagon Aniseed, the Void Spirit Saint felt uncomfortable all over. She calmed herself down and said in a low voice, however, "Since it's the demon lord of the true devil sect, then we have to give him some face. After all, your esteemed sect has gotten rid of the tumor that is the supreme sect for the entire universe. If my Jiang Han realm were to become enemies with the true devil sect, then we would not be laughed at by others." With that, the Void Spirit Saint turned around, wanting Xian'ao to retreat. "Did I say you could leave?" At this moment, Octagon Aniseed suddenly snorted and said. As these words fell, the Void Spirit Saint's footsteps immediately froze. The demonic chi cultivators from all directions rushed towards the entrance. The soldiers there panicked and quickly retreated. Those who did not leave were killed by the demonic chi cultivators. They did not even have the strength to retaliate and were drowned by the countless demonic chi cultivators. These devil cultivators directly cut off the Jiang people's path of retreat and blocked the entrance to the demon realm. Such a scene clearly displayed the attitude of the true devil sect. Seeing that, Xian'ao immediately turned around, turned his head and stared at Octagon Aniseed and growled, "Octagon Aniseed, what are you doing? Are you declaring war on my Jiang country?" "A declaration of war?" Octagon Aniseed snorted. "A small Jiang Han realm, is it worth it for my true devil sect to declare war? You think too highly of yourselves. Also, can you afford to give face to my true devil sect?" His voice rose an octave. Today, you dare to come to the true devil realm to choose us and humiliate me, the demon lord. then, he had to pay the price. Otherwise, if this matter were to spread out, how would my true devil sect have a foothold in the myriad of worlds? As these words fell, it shocked everyone from Jianghan realm. Then what do you want, eight-toothed sect master? The Void Spirit Saint said in a deep voice. At this moment, she was no longer as arrogant and haughty as before. After all, she knew very well what kind of devil-dweller this delicate and pretty fellow was. What do I want? Octagon Aniseed snorted, and said coldly. My idea is very simple, and that is to remove the hidden danger of my devil sex demon lord without any worries. When these words came out, the Void Spirit Saint and the others felt as if their hair had stood on end, and they almost jumped up. What do you mean by that? 8 teeth. You want to kill us? The Void Spirit Saint was also shocked. I am the king of the Jiang country. If I am killed by you, the entire Jianghan will view the true devil sect as an irreconcilable enemy, and the people of the 10,000 worlds will definitely condemn your true devil sect. 8 teeth. You can't do that. Xian Ao growled. However, Octagon Aniseed did not care. I feel like you guys don't seem to have recognized the current situation. He shook his head and said coldly, First, a small Jianghan realm, my true devil sect does not place it in my eyes. Even if this realm wants to be my enemy, I do not care. The more the true devil sect has, the less. Secondly, we have never cared about the condemnation of the people of the myriad heavens realm. In these past few years, have we, the devil cultivator, suffered a lot of condemnation? And the third, which is also the most important point. At this point, he paused for a moment. His eyes were so red that it seemed as if blood was about to drip out. His delicate and pretty face was already filled with malevolence. You have provoked my true devil sex demon lord, how can I let you off? If the might of the demon lord is violated today, and we do not pursue the matter, how can my true devil sect still have a foothold in the myriad heavens realm? You, kill. Such a word came out from his 8 teeth. His voice was dull, but when it landed in the ears of the people of Jiang, it was like a thunderclap. In that moment, all the devil cultivators from all directions raised their blades and rushed towards the people from the Jianghan realm. Xian'ao and the Holy Mother of the Rivers immediately panicked. Su Yun was speechless. The feeling of hugging a thigh was really not bad. The Void Spirit Saint was not lightly angered. Her stooped body was trembling non-stop, and her dim yellow eyes were filled with anger. Good. As expected of the vice sect master of the true devil sect, he had guts. But you have to be clear, they are people from the Jianghan realm, but this old one is not. Octagon Aniseed, you can ignore the Jianghan realm, but do you dare to ignore the Divine Void Palace? Divine Void Palace. Octagon angrily snorted. I have never heard of this Divine Void Palace, nor do I know who you are. Today, I will only avenge the Demon Lord. I will not care about anything else. Divine Void Palace, right? After I take care of all of you, I will leave the realm entrance and destroy the Divine Void Palace. You. Good. Octagon Aniseed, you are so arrogant and look down on everyone. Although you are famous, this old one might have a good fight with you today. The Void Spirit Saint shouted as he leaped towards Octagon Aniseed. Seeing this, Octagon Aniseed did not hold back and prepared to kill the Void Spirit Saint. But the moment he moved, a large hand suddenly pressed down on his shoulder. He turned his head to look, only to see that the owner of the hand was Su Yun. I'll do it. Su Yun threw out these 2 words and immediately leaped forward, attacking the Void Spirit Saint. Octagon Aniseed was startled. He laughed bitterly, but did not refute. He understood why Su Yun wanted to make a move, because this was his problem. He did not want to always rely on the true devil sect. In fact, Octagon Aniseed understood that if not for Su Yun, the true devil sect might have already fallen into a state of eternal damnation. Su Yun's movements were even more ruthless and ferocious. When he got close to the old lady, he immediately activated the Imperial Battle Robe and released his divine power, as though a giant's hand was grabbing towards the old lady. When the divine power first touched the old lady, she was shocked. She could feel that her profound chi was being devoured by this strange power at an astonishing speed, and immediately retreated, not daring to go forward. Su Yun casually threw out 2 flying swords, one immortal profound and the other tribulation fire. The white and red swords were like 2 streaks of light as they flew towards the old woman. The old woman's eyes shone with a golden light. She raised the walking stick in her hand and a gray curtain appeared in front of her. Wah! The 2 swords were blocked and directly smashed onto the chi cover, causing a large amount of profound chi to ripple out. The chi cover did not move at all, its defense was astonishing. The corner of the old woman's mouth curled up into a cold and disdainful smile. Seems like the demon lord of your true devil sect is only SOSO. He didn't say anything. Su Yun did not say anything. Fighting a war of words was actually the most unnecessary thing, because it was impossible for you to defeat those enemies with poor mental fortitude. As for those with strong mental fortitude, using this method would have no effect at all. Although Su Yun's cultivation was not at the level of a saint, he had experienced so much and understood quite a bit. If he wanted to defeat this void spirit saint, he could not hold back at all. The Tribulation Fire and Immortal Profound's first round of attacks failed, but they did not land on the ground. The sword was filled with profound chi, and quickly controlled them to return. The 2 swords flew into the air, spinning quickly. As it spun, the profound chi on the Tribulation Fire sword became weaker and weaker, while the profound chi on the Immortal Profound sword became stronger and stronger. The immortal mystical scarlet blood sword was like a wheel of wind and fire, spinning crazily, while the Tribulation Fire sword slowed down and started to sway. It had lost its kinetic energy, and its power was greatly reduced. But at this time, the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword suddenly started to crazily clash with the Tribulation Fire sword. The Tribulation Fire sword that was about to fall seemed to have been reborn, as it regained its new posture. Seeing that, the Void Spirit Saint's heart trembled. She had never seen such a profound technique before, and did not understand why Su Yun was doing this. However, she understood that once Su Yun completed this technique, she would be facing an extremely terrifying technique. Immediately, the Void Spirit Saint no longer hesitated. He moved and rushed towards Su Yun. When she got close to the 2 swords, she suddenly stopped and opened her mouth. Within a sound, she let out a sound wave. Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Su Yun, be careful, it's a mental attack." However, Octagon Aniseed's words were still a beat too slow, the sound wave could not be resisted at all, and directly entered Su Yun's ears. In that moment, Su Yun felt ripples in the surrounding space, and everything disappeared in the blink of an eye. He understood that he had been dragged into an illusion. The Void Spirit Saint was the master of the Holy Mother of Rivers and Rivers, and his profound technique was used to perfection. Slowly, the surrounding scenery became snow-white, there was nothing, and Su Yun was completely in this empty world. He, the demon lord of the true devil sect, is he such an incompetent person like you? It's really funny, an existence like you. It's better to erase it as soon as possible, so as to not embarrass the true devil sect. Ha 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 ha. A low and deep voice echoed in the empty world. It was the voice of the Void Spirit Saint. Su Yun did not say a word, and took out the Lotus Star sword from the sword sheath. This was the only thing he could rely on to fight against the mental technique. He raised his sword, closed his eyes, focused his mind, activated his idea, and muttered in his heart, "Break!" Hua! A ripple spread out in all directions. Dong! The empty world trembled a few times. What kind of sword was this? It can actually release mental techniques? The Void Spirit Saint was slightly surprised. However, she obviously did not want to waste any more time with Su Yun. Forget it, why ask? When I take back the sword from your hands, I'll know. With that said, a pitch-black dot appeared in the empty world. Just 100 meters away from Su Yun, the black dot started to grow bigger and bigger, and started to transform. In just a few breaths of time, it had already transformed into a human. Su Yun stared at the human figure, the sword in his hand clenched tighter and tighter, but after a moment, he was stunned. Chapter 845. The person that was formed from the black dot was dressed in a plain robe, holding onto an autumn water sword. Looking at it, it was Ching-Er. Her dressing was almost exactly the same as when Su Yun had parted ways with her. With bright eyes and white teeth, her eyes looked at Su Yun, filled with gentleness. She did not show any hostility, she only looked at Su Yun in a daze, and walked towards him step by step. "Young master!" That familiar voice came out from the sandalwood mouth. It was melodious and had an endless amount of meaning. "Ching-Er!" Su Yun was startled, and blurted out, "Young master, it's me." A look of joy surfaced on Su Ching-Er's face. He immediately quickened his pace, and walked towards Su Yun. But just as she approached Su Yun, a snow-white sword pierced through her chest. Su Ching-Er's body trembled, then her strength dissipated, and she fell to the ground. She opened her eyes wide and stared blankly at Su Yun. Her red lips slightly opened, wanting to say something, but she couldn't. Good move. You've actually peeped into my memories without me noticing. However, even if that's the case, it's useless. If you want to defeat me with just this, I'm afraid you're going to waste your energy. Su Yun said indifferently, and threw the sharp sword away. The fake Su Ching-Er fell to the ground, blood flowing all over the ground, dyeing the snow-white world with a few rare colors. "Young master," Su Ching-Er raised her white hand, and extended it towards Su Yun while trembling, but halfway through, her hand drooped down powerlessly. Her face was filled with endless confusion and fatigue, as well as uncountable pain. It was almost no different from a real person. What a brilliant, profound technique of the spirit! Su Yun's expression became somewhat ugly. He did not dare delay any longer. He picked up the Lotus Star Sword and continued to activate the idea, wanting to break the Void Spirit Saint's profound technique as soon as possible and leave this place. However, this time, the activation of the Lotus Star Sword's idea did not cause any more turbulence in the world of the Void. Not only that, the surrounding scenery changed once again. The originally snow-white world gradually gained color. There was red, blue, green, purple, and then it began to take shape. There were mountains, water, flowers, grass. An iron door appeared in front of him. It was an iron door that was chained by thick chains. There were many exquisite houses in the surroundings. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the breeze was gentle. This was the entrance of the divine cloud immortal palace that led to the ultimate martial world. After that, there were no more strange phenomena. The Su Ching-Er who was stabbed to death by Su Yun's sword fell in front of the metal door. Her eyes were wide open, still staring at Su Yun, motionless. Her corpse was already cold. Reality. Everything was so real that it struck one's heart. Su Yun felt that he was unable to concentrate. Even though he knew that all of this was fake, this strange scene continued to wreak havoc on him again and again. He felt as if his thoughts were in chaos, and his consciousness was in a mess. He felt as if he was starting to forget something, as if he had made a mistake. These were all the spells of the Void Spirit Saint. He constructed the void and played with people's souls in the palm of his hands. At this moment, outside, Octagon Aniseed was still watching everything. The Void Spirit Saint was still urging his technique, but Su Yun was like a statue, standing motionlessly in front of the Void Spirit Saint. He held onto the Lotus Star Sword, and in an extremely far-away place, the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword and the Tribulation Fire Sword were still clashing. If Octagon Aniseed were to make a move now, the Void Spirit Saint would definitely die. But Octagon Aniseed did not make a move. He was still standing at the same spot, quietly watching everything with an incomparably serious expression. Actually, it wasn't that he didn't want to make a move, but that he couldn't. He understood that this was a hurdle, and if Su Yun couldn't even pass this hurdle, then his future path would be extremely difficult. If Octagon Aniseed could help him get through this crisis, then what about next time? Who would help him? A person's good luck could not accompany them for a lifetime, and the protection of others could not accompany them for a lifetime. Only by relying on oneself could one solve everything. In the distance, the Holy Mother of the River and Xian Ao were already surrounded by the experts of the Devil Cultivator. Jiang Guojun protected the two of them in the middle, repelling wave after wave of the Devil Army. How did they know that the fellow who stole the Dragon Abyss Bead was actually the Demon Lord of the true Devil Sect? It was even more impossible for them to know that they had chased after this person for thousands of miles, only to be surrounded by the Devil Cultivator army. Your Majesty, there are too many Devil Cultivator, we can't even retreat. Even if we kill one, there will be countless more Devil Cultivator rushing over. Our people can't hold on any longer. A general ran over in a sorry state and shouted at Xian Ao. Kill them. There are many Devil Cultivator-s, kill them all. Kill. Xian Ao was anxious, his eyes were red, and his voice was hoarse, as if he had gone crazy. But just as he finished speaking, he was pulled back by the Virgin of the River. Your Majesty, you can't be impulsive. The Holy Mother of the River called out in a low voice. At the same time, she activated a mental mantra to stabilize Xian Ao's temper. Xian Ao was forced to calm down. He turned his head and stared at her. Don't be impulsive, what do you plan to do? Could it be that you are just going to watch these Devil Cultivator act presumptuously in front of me? Your Majesty, these are only demon dwellers, a group of uncivilized beings. Why are you so angry over them? The Holy Mother of the River shouted. The situation is critical now, the number of enemies far surpasses ours, and their strength cannot be underestimated. We must leave as soon as possible, otherwise, if these Devil Cultivator were to injure His Majesty's dragon body, it would truly be a misfortune for the Jiang country, a misfortune for the Jiang Han realm, and a misfortune for the people of the 10,000 realms. The Holy Mother of Jiang Han tried her best to persuade him, and her advice was just right. Xian Ao seemed to be waiting for her to say this, waiting for her to step up. When he returned to the Jiang Han realm in the future, he could also tell everyone that it was the Holy Mother who urged him to retreat, and not because he was afraid to fight. Since the Holy Mother has said so, I will not refute. Xian Ao said solemnly, pass down the order, immediately break out of the encirclement and retreat. Return to the Jiang Han territory. Understood. The general cupped his fists and immediately went to relay the order. Xian Ao took a deep breath and glanced at the battle around him. The coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. When I unify the Jiang Han realm in the future, I will definitely avenge this blood feud. True Devil Sect, just you wait. He gritted his teeth and growled in a low voice. The Sovereign King's heavenly might is vast and mighty. No one can match him. This wish will definitely come true. The Holy Mother of the River said. Let's break out of the encirclement first. Xian Ao took a deep breath. His gaze suddenly turned to the Void Spirit Saint in the distance, and asked, Then, if we leave, what should your master do? She seems to be in a stalemate, and I'm afraid she won't be able to leave for a while. Master's mana is extremely high. These Devil Cultivator-s will definitely not be able to keep her here. We can leave first, Master will definitely understand. Good. In that case, let's set off now. Xian Ao nodded, then berated the troops to break out of the encirclement with all their might. The soldiers of the Jiang country did not want to stay here for a long time, all of them retreated towards the border like crazy, but there were also a lot of devil cultivators there. They were like an iron wall blocking the retreat of the people of the Jiang country. Your Majesty, the cultivation of these devil cultivator is too high, it's very difficult for us to break out. When the commander saw that several waves of attacks had been intercepted, he immediately turned his head and shouted at Xian Ao. Is it difficult to break out? Xian Ao's face changed. You trash, what do I usually raise you for? If you can't even deal with a few small devil cultivators, what use do I have for you all? But, Your Majesty, Sovereign King Mou, a mere devil cultivator is nothing to worry about. Wait for me to tear open a hole and help the army retreat, the Virgin of the River shouted as she leaped up and rushed towards the border. As she hovered in the air, a large amount of mental energy rippled out from her body, directly covering all directions. When the devil cultivators suffered the attack of the sound wave, they retreated a few steps back, all of them hugging their heads, their faces filled with pain. Humph! A mob! Seeing this, the goddess of the river said coldly. Everyone, retreat! Xian Ao took advantage of the situation and shouted loudly. Seeing that, Jiang Guojun was overjoyed and immediately rushed towards the border. Retreat? Is this a place where you can come and go as you please? At this moment, a cold voice suddenly floated over from afar. When the goddess of the river heard this, her face changed. She suddenly turned her head, and before she could react, a blood-red force shot over. Bang! The Holy Mother of the River didn't have time to defend and was directly struck in the chest by the force. She was immediately sent flying and smashed into a mountain not far away. The force of the collision spread out, and the pitch-black mountain instantly turned into gravel and disappeared. Before the Holy Mother of the River could stand up, she spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. She stood up with difficulty and saw a pitch-black figure floating in the sky not far away. She immediately asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" "The second elder of the true devil sect, the second demon," the man said indifferently. "So it's an expert from the true devil sect." The Virgin of the River gritted her teeth and said, "Come, let me see how capable you, a person who treats us as a mob, is." The two devils hooked their fingers at the Holy Mother of the River and said arrogantly, "Hey, you will regret it." The Holy Mother of the River said coldly. She then leaped up and pounced towards the two devils. The two of them fought chaotically in the dark sky, profound Qi overflowing in all directions. The battle was intense, and for a moment it was hard to separate them. With the Holy Mother of the River entangled, Xian Ao was isolated and helpless. It would be difficult to break through the boundary with just these Jianghu soldiers, but if the boundary did not open, he and the others would definitely be devoured by the true devil realm. No, I can't die here yet. I have just unified the Jianghan realm. He clenched his fists, his heart filled with unwillingness. In the end, he quietly took out a silver-white stone with purple patterns from the golden space bag at his waist. This was a teleportation stone that could help him teleport back to the Jianghan realm and help him escape from this hellish place. However, this stone could only be used once, and it could only be used by one person. He gripped the stone tightly as he nervously looked around. Chapter 846. Young Master. The gentle and sorrowful voice once again sounded in Su Yun's ears. Su Yun, who was still holding onto the lotus star sword, gasped for breath as he looked towards the source of the voice. Not far away, Su Qing'er's figure appeared once again. The corpses on the ground had already disappeared, and the surrounding scenery had changed. It was no longer the scene of the divine cloud immortal palace's iron gate, but the simple and crude wooden house outside the Su family. Su Yun himself had also changed. He was no longer wearing a pitch-black robe, but the coarse linen clothes he had worn in the Su family. Su Qing'er, who was dressed in luxurious clothes, walked over briskly. Her eyes were always fixated on Su Yun, so gentle, so kind, everything seemed to have returned to the past, back to the past. All of this was too real. It was hard to believe that this was just an illusion created by the Void Spirit Saint. "Young master, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking?" Su Qing'er held onto Su Yun's arm, and said with a crooked neck. His appearance was innocent and his tone was natural, causing the hearts of those who heard him to tremble. But in the next second, a sharp sword pierced through her chest again. Su Yun closed his eyes and thrusted the sword down. "Ugh! Young master!" Su Qing'er trembled a few times, then fell to the ground again, blood staining the clothes on her chest red. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. Her face was filled with surprise as she pursed her blood-red lips and said powerlessly, "Why, young master, why did you kill Qing'er? Qing'er, cough cough. Did Qing'er do something wrong? Alright, Void Spirit Saint, if you have any other moves, then use them." Su Yun did not care about the fake Su Qing'er beside him. His voice gradually turned cold, and his eyes slowly turned red. However, there was still no movement from the surroundings. Su Yun's face became sinister. The impostor beside her was on the verge of death, but her hands were still tightly grabbing onto Su Yun. In the next second, the Lotus Star sword appeared again, and directly beheaded the impostor. The current Su Yun's entire body was filled with baleful aura, to the point that it was suffocating. He gripped his sword tightly and glared at his surroundings. The changes in his surroundings were constantly stimulating his nerves. He roared, he was in pain, his voice was deep, stern, and cold. "Do you know what you're doing?" There was still no sound. However, Su Yun was already completely restless. "You should not have used Qing'er to provoke me. Void Spirit Saint, you will regret using such an illusion technique." He held onto the Lotus Star sword and waved it crazily in the distance. He didn't hold back at all. Profound qi, strength, and even the divine power within the imperial battle robe were all activated by him. The Lotus Star sword quickly released a 7-colored light, and with an extremely terrifying might, it shot into the distance. Whoosh! Intense white light burst forth from the sword and crashed into the void. Dong! Everything in the surroundings suddenly began to tremble violently. The scene was like a sand dune that had been shaken away, quickly disappearing. Everything once again returned to the snow-white and empty scene. But very quickly, the surroundings began to distort once again. It seemed like the Void Spirit Saint was preparing to cast some sort of mental spell. However, Su Yun had already started to counterattack. He held onto the Lotus Star sword tightly, frantically activating his mind instructs. In a second, he did not even consider whether or not his body could withstand the activation of so many mind instructs. In a second, he only saw waves after waves of mental energy explode from the sword body, crazily bombarding his surroundings. The pale white world trembled even more violently, and the scene that had been solidified by the Void Spirit Saint was also dispersed in the blink of an eye. She was simply unable to withstand Su Yun's berserk power. Gradually, Su Yun could not hold on any longer. But he still gritted his teeth and persevered. He didn't want to see that scene. He didn't want to see Qing'er killed by him even more. Although he knew that it was fake, that kind of fake was incomparably real. Qing'er had always been a taboo in his heart, and no one could offend him. However, the Void Spirit Saint's actions today had made him incomparably furious. He thought of his previous life, and thought of Qing'er's desolate and miserable grave. This was like a needle piercing into his heart. Hua! Suddenly, a gust of wind blew in the world. The gust of wind attacked, and actually started to block the overflowing spirit undulations from the Lotus Star Sword. They surrounded the spirit wave and quickly shrank, forcing it, and when it was forced to Su Yun's surroundings, the pale white world started to quickly form a scene. How would you feel if you killed the person you loved the most over and over again? Even if it was fake, he could not be completely indifferent. Although Su Yun had already become bedeviled, he could not abandon his emotions and desires. Otherwise, wouldn't he be like a walking corpse? Young master. After the world was completed, Qing'er's voice came from afar again. She stood in front of a pavilion, holding a fruit basket in her hand, and waved at Su Yun. That forced and tired smile was so powerless, so real. Su Yun clenched his teeth and closed his eyes. I don't want to see. I don't want to remember. I don't want to understand. He hated the Void Spirit Saint even more. He was getting angrier. The Void Spirit Saint's actions were like a hammer, attacking the line of defense in his heart again and again. Qing'er moved. With a face full of doubt, he walked towards Su Yun step by step. Young master? Why aren't you talking? Come over quickly. Qing'er picked some spirit fruits. Come and eat them, it might be helpful to your cultivation. As she spoke, she walked towards Su Yun. However, this Qing'er was completely different from before. Inside the fruit basket, a flash of light flashed. It was a sharp dagger. Young master, are you feeling unwell? Qing'er said with a face full of concern. Her snow-white hands had already gently extended towards the fruit basket. Su Yun sensed the cold light. However, he did not make a move, nor did he defend himself. He only closed his eyes and began to think. His chest hurt. A heart-wrenching pain. He opened his eyes slightly. He saw Qing'er standing in front of him with a sinister smile on his face. A dagger had already pierced through his chest. However, Su Yun was not afraid. In this fictional world, if I can't kill you, you can't kill me either. He took a deep breath. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was twisted. The Void Spirit Saint had only done this to completely destroy his mentality. However, she had underestimated Su Yun's will. I think it's time for us to end this. He closed his eyes again, and his brain began to think back. He did not think about Qing'er anymore, nor did he think about anyone else. At this moment, his mind and consciousness were only recalling one thing: the matter of rebirth. Thinking back to his previous life in the Su family, thinking back to being bullied and humiliated, thinking back to visiting all the experts in the famous mountains, thinking back to escaping into the Devil Dao, thinking back to fighting with the saints, and then thinking back to his rebirth. What's going on? Finally, a cry of surprise came from the fake world. Obviously, the Void Spirit Saint had sensed something unbelievable from Su Yun's memories. Hearing that, Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He immediately activated his body, released the profound strength, and struck towards the void in the distance. The profound chi crashed into the void and immediately disappeared. However, in the next second, whoosh, everything in the surroundings suddenly shattered like broken glass and dissipated. Su Yun once again returned to the sky above the true devil sect. The surroundings were still chaotic, but there was a vacuum around him and the Void Spirit Saint. Neither the Devil Cultivator nor Jiang Guojun came close. Octagon Aniseed stood not far from the two of them and watched. Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star Sword and stood there quietly. In front of him, the Void Spirit Saint's chest had already been pierced through by a pale white sword. The sword's power was extremely great, directly piercing through her chest. The power tore her chest apart, and cracks began to spread all over her stooped body. This was the Tribulation Fire Sword. The Void Spirit Saint opened his eyes wide, staring blankly at Su Yun, his eyes filled with shock. What's going on? Why are you still able to attack me in the illusion? The Void Spirit Saint's voice became weak as he spoke in shock and unwillingness. She attempted to use the illusion to destroy Su Yun's mind, turning him into an idiot and a madman. However, Su Yun's willpower was shockingly strong. She had peeped into a portion of Su Yun's memories and discovered that everything this guy had experienced was simply unimaginable. I can't attack you. Even the sword in my hand can't hurt you. However, that doesn't mean that you are an invincible existence, Su Yun said indifferently. Those two swords are not in the illusion, they have always been behind you. But you can't control them. You don't even know where I am. When the Void Spirit Saint heard this, it was as if he had been revived from the dead, and his eyes suddenly widened. Your voice revealed your location. So that's how it is. The reason why you suddenly presented those memories to me just now was to lock onto my position? If your mind is firm, I won't be able to do it. But even so, the illusion will block your profound chi. But in reality, it can't be completely blocked. Su Yun said indifferently. I only need a single strand of profound chi to kill you. Liar. Liar. You must have used some other technique. The Void Spirit Saint roared. How can a sliver of profound chi control a sword to kill me? It's not my imperial sword. Su Yun shook his head, his blood-red eyes staring at the Void Spirit Saint. It's the imperial sword technique. Sword imperial sword? The Void Spirit Saint was stunned. Su Yun's little profound chi was not of much use at all. Forget about controlling the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword outside. He could not even give it the simplest order. However, there was still a powerful sword beside the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword. The moment he locked onto the Void Spirit Saint, he had only changed the position of the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword's sword edge. The powerful sword moved slightly and struck the Tribulation Fire Sword. The Tribulation Fire Sword immediately moved and attacked the Void Spirit Saint. Restraining the Spirit Profound technique did not necessarily require one to use the Spirit Profound technique to fight against it. As long as one grabbed the source and killed the leader, the technique would collapse on its own. Octagon Aniseed did not say anything, but the eyes that looked at Su Yun were filled with admiration. Then, it's time to pay the price for everything you did before, Su Yun said coldly. His body moved, and instantly appeared in front of the Void Spirit Saint. He stretched out his hand, grabbed the old woman, and lifted her up. The Void Spirit Saint struggled frantically, but to no avail. Chapter 847. Octagon Aniseed did not know what spell the Void Spirit Saint had used on Su Yun. He only saw that Su Yun had broken out of the illusion and was filled with killing intent. Although he was a little worried about Su Yun before, when he saw the two swords floating behind the Void Spirit Saint, he was no longer that worried. He did not think that Su Yun had unintentionally placed them there, not to mention that the two swords did not reveal much of an attack, but instead had a coexisting feeling. At this moment, the Void Spirit Saint's chi meridian was broken, and all of her profound chi was quickly dissipating. Furthermore, she was being suppressed by Su Yun, and being so close to him, even if her profound chi did not dissipate, it would still be devoured by Su Yun. The Void Spirit Saint kicked his legs and struggled, but he was powerless. She opened her dim yellow eyes and looked at Su Yun powerlessly. You? Who exactly are you? Saint. Is it the reincarnation of a saint? She had peeped into Su Yun's memories and knew that Su Yun was someone who had been reborn, but other than a saint, who else had such a sacred art to be reborn? Not to mention, Su Yun's rebirth was not as simple as soul transfer. His rebirth was a reversal of time. Time flowed back, perhaps, even a saint would not be able to do this. Me! Su Yun's eyes revealed a sinister look. It has nothing to do with you. As his voice fell, he suddenly tightened his grip. Crack! The Void Spirit Saint's neck was immediately broken. The tribulation fire in her chest immediately ignited her entire body, burning her soul along with it. The void spirit saint had fallen. Almost impossible to resist. After losing her powerful mental spell, how weak was she? Su Yun slowly put down his hand. The killing intent in his eyes had not dissipated, and only after a long while did he turn around. The surroundings returned to silence, but the sounds of fighting in the distance still did not stop. The Holy Mother of the River, who was still fighting with the two devils, seemed to have sensed something and suddenly turned her head. However, what she saw was the corpse of the void spirit saint that had been burned by the tribulation fire. The Holy Mother of the River immediately let out a miserable cry, but her distraction gave the two devils an opportunity to take advantage of it. A devil palm immediately struck her body, and like a kite with its string cut, she fell from the sky. When she fell to the ground, she was already on the verge of death. Xian Ao was nowhere to be seen. The Jiang country had lost its leader, and the morale of the army was in chaos. It had already been defeated, and the corpses on the ground belonged to the people of Jiang country. The battle had already been decided. There wasn't much suspense in the first place. You were originally not her match, but it's a pity that she was too careless. Otherwise, this battle would have continued for a while longer. Octagon Aniseed said as he walked over. Su Yun did not say anything. Octagon Aniseed revealed a smile, stood on his tiptoes and patted his shoulder, saying, "All right, my lord demon lord. He is already dead, we should go back." "Where to?" "Oh, the ancient tomb. The master has been reminding me every single day. If you don't go, I'm going to be punished." "What does my going to the ancient tomb have to do with your punishment?" "Sigh, it's a long story. Let's talk as we walk." "What do we do here?" "Eremo will handle it." "How should we deal with it?" "What else can I do?" Octagon Aniseed said coldly, "Since you have offended my sex demon lord, there is no other way to make up for it other than death." Hearing that, Su Yun's expression did not change, but a trace of inexplicable feeling surfaced in his heart. Why is Octagon Aniseed protecting me like this? Is it really because I am the demon lord of the true devil sect? Although Su Yun was very grateful to Octagon Aniseed, he did not feel that there was anything about his body that was worth Octagon Aniseed's protection. Of course, in terms of appearance, Su Yun was still pretty good. The two of them immediately left the camp at the entrance and rushed towards the true devil sect. With so many devil cultivators surrounding them, it was impossible for the people of Jiang to escape. Octagon Aniseed's movements were very fast, and Su Yun could tell that he was rather anxious. What kind of place is the ancient tomb? On the way, Su Yun could not help but ask. The cenotaph of the great devils of the true devil sect. Cenotaph? Yes, because their whereabouts are unknown. Some of the great devils might have already perished, some of the great devils might have stepped into a higher level, some of them are hiding in ordinary realms, some of them have ascended to the ninth heaven, and without exception, they are not in the true devil sect, but they have left behind precious treasures for the true devil sect. Inside the ancient tomb, there are countless treasures left behind by the powerful devil cultivator, and instead of calling it an ancient tomb, it is more like a huge treasure trove. Octagon Aniseed said. What? Su Yun secretly frowned. If that's the case, then there must be a peerless magic treasure in the ancient tomb? With such a treasure trove, why didn't you open it earlier for the sect to enjoy? If that's the case, I am naturally willing. However, the ancestor has already passed down a rule that the people of the true devil sect are not allowed to enter the ancient tomb, not even the sect master. Only one person can enter. Demon Lord. Su Yun squinted his eyes. That's right. Why don't you become the Demon Lord? Without me in my fate, I will not be able to complete the sacrifice, and so will the sect master. Do you believe in fate? I don't believe it. Then why did you say such a thing? Octagon Aniseed smiled, but did not continue. So, the sect leader hopes that you can immediately enter the ancient tomb and obtain the inheritance of the great demons. See if there is anything left behind by the great demons that can save this crisis. If not, how should I deal with it? No. Octagon Aniseed lowered his head and started to think. A moment later, he shook his head. I don't care if there isn't, then let the sect leader think of a way. These past few days, I have almost broken my legs for the safety of the true devil realm, and he has been sleeping comfortably in the cultivation grounds every day. It's not fair, it's too unfair, I don't care anymore. You are not working for the true devil sect, you are responsible for the true devil sect. Isn't it the same to work and be in charge? I'm really tired of throwing so many messes at me. Octagon Aniseed exhaled, a trace of indignation appearing on his face. Then let the sect leader give you some benefits. Su Yun said. What benefits can he give me? Medicinal pills? He uses that for himself. How about a beautiful woman suitable for dual cultivation? Ugh! I don't want this thing, Lord Devil Lord, what are you thinking about all day? Octagon Aniseed's face suddenly turned red. It was unknown if it was real or not, but Su Yun felt that it was very strange. Could this guy also blush? The two of them pulled at each other and finally arrived at the true devil sect. The current devil sect could be said to be completely different from before Su Yun left. There were a large number of devil cultivators south all around the place. All of them were lying on the ground, either drawing imprints or setting up array sources. From the looks of it, they seemed to be building a barrier. Around the true devil sect, there were more than 100 huge pitch-black statues. These statues were all ferocious beasts from the demon realm, made of pitch-black magic stones, and their surfaces were inlaid with crystals that contained surging energy. Each of them was close to 30 meters tall. Octagon Aniseed ordered his men to arrange these statues in a formation, with the true devil sect as the array source. He set up a huge formation. There were still a large number of experts guarding the sect, and every single person from the true devil sect was working in an orderly manner. Seeing that, Su Yun understood. The people from the immortal seeking sect might not be as simple as he had imagined. Vice sect leader. Lord Devil Lord. On the way, when the people from the true devil sect saw the two of them coming over, they all stopped what they were doing and cupped their fists to greet them. There's no need to bow. Everyone, let's get busy first. Octagon Aniseed said. Yes, sect leader. Everyone called out and then continued to work. Time was tight, the enemy that the true devil realm was facing was not a small matter. Every minute and second was crucial. Chapter 848. The guards of the Forbidden Grounds opened the sealing enchantment and let the two in. Octagon Aniseed led Su Yun through the Forbidden Grounds where the prisoners of the true devil sect were imprisoned, and arrived at a huge empty space at the back. This place was completely empty. In the distance there were pitch-black walls, but in the middle of this empty space, there was a towering white bone altar. The altar was already in ruins. There were 4 huge vertebrae around it, but they were all rotten. They looked as if they would fall and shatter in the next second. Octagon Aniseed stood at the edge of the empty space, and stopped in his tracks. I cannot go against the teachings of my ancestors. I cannot advance any further. Lord Demon Lord, you will have to walk the rest of the way yourself. Yes. Su Yun nodded. He walked around the altar that was made of bones, then turned his head to look at the 8 teeth, and extended his hand. What's wrong? Octagon Aniseed was puzzled. Where's the door? Oh, found it. Su Yun's eyes moved closer to a small tombstone at the side of the altar. There was a crack in the tombstone, and with a touch, the tombstone would automatically open up, and a long staircase appeared in front of Su Yun. Is this the entrance to the ancient tomb? That's right. Speaking of which, won't my life be in danger if I go in? How could I joke around with the demon lord's life? Octagon Aniseed was speechless. "Oh, that's good." Su Yun laughed. "Then I'll go down first. Go early and come back early. You tricked me into coming back to settle the score," Su Yun suddenly said. Hearing that, Octagon Aniseed's entire body trembled. He immediately scratched his head and laughed, but a few drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, Su Yun had already walked down the stairs and could not be seen. "Why would I trick you? With so many opportunities, it all depends on whether you cherish them or not. How many people want to enter but can't?" Octagon Aniseed muttered, then quickly turned around and ran away. Drip, drip, drip. As he walked down the stairs, waves of strange sounds came from the pitch-black ancient tomb. It sounded like the sound of water droplets. Su Yun opened his eyes wide. Although it was pitch black, he could see everything. The stairs were very long, about a few thousand meters. Su Yun did not walk very fast, taking one step at a time. He walked for a full 10 minutes. At the end of the stairs was a small door. The door was made of iron. On the door was a relief that looked like a tiger, but not a tiger, but not a leopard, but not a leopard. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, its two copper eyes staring in the direction of the stairs. When Su Yun walked down, the sculpture immediately moved, jumped out of the iron door, and stood in front of Su Yun. Seeing that, Su Yun's expression tensed up and immediately pulled out the death sword. After consuming the dragon abyssal bead, the evil aura was dissolved. He did not need the Lotus Star Sword's effect, so he used the most powerful death sword as his main weapon. No one could sense any chi from the sculpture. Its strength was probably above the Spirit Emperor. It was so strong that it made people's hearts jump. At the moment, Su Yun's heart was already racing. Fighting with this guy in such a narrow place, he would most likely not be able to gain any advantage. If it guarded the door and did not let him in, it would be very difficult for him to step into the ancient tomb. However, the sculpture did not seem to have any hostility. It circled around Su Yun, sniffed the scent on his body, and directly said, "You have already accepted the baptism of the sacrifice. You are the demon lord of the true devil sect. You have the qualifications to enter the ancient tomb. Please enter." His voice was hoarse and dull. With that, the sculpture walked to the side of the door and prostrated itself. The iron door opened on its own with a rumbling sound. Su Yun was startled, looking at the sculpture. He felt that it was inconceivable. Speaking of which, when Su Yun saw it, he thought of the wooden leopard in the ultimate martial sacred plane. When he had time, he would have to go back and take a look at that silly leopard. "Who are you?" Su Yun could not help but ask. He knew nothing about the ancient tomb, so he wanted to get some information about the ancient tomb from this sculpture. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no movement from the sculpture, nor was there any sound. Su Yun was startled. He asked a few more questions, but the sculpture completely ignored him. Su Yun still gave up in the end. He did not have much time. He had to quickly enter the ancient tomb and obtain the power of the great demons. Without hesitation, he walked over to them. After entering the iron door, his vision immediately widened. In front of Su Yun was a long road. The ground was covered with white bones, and on both sides of the long road, there were many pitch-black statues. He slowly walked over, his gaze landing on the statues. These statues were bizarre and dazzling. Some were no different from humans, while others were very different from ordinary people. However, they all had one thing in common, and that was that they were all wearing all kinds of clothes, with weapons hanging from their neck. Some of them even had spatial bags tied to their waists. Was this the cenotaph of those great demons? Presumably, these statues were carved according to the appearance of those great demons, right? Su Yun carefully sized up the first statue. This statue was extremely mighty, about 3 meters tall. Its appearance was sinister and terrifying. There was a horn on his head, one eye was open, one eye was closed. It was very strange, and his face was covered with worm-like scars. His body was abnormally thick, his muscles were bulging, the stone body was also covered with a thick layer of armor, it was especially heavy, there was a large blade at his waist, it was mighty and domineering. Octagon Aniseed asked Su Yun to come down and inherit the great magic treasure profound technique, but he did not specifically tell him what to do, so he could only figure it out himself. These statues should be just ordinary statues, right? The important thing was the magic tools on their bodies and the treasures in the space bag. Su Yun took a deep breath and walked towards the big-sized man. However, the moment he got close to the statue, he heard a clanging sound and a terrifying pressure came crashing towards him. Su Yun's heart jumped. He immediately retreated. Before he could even react, a terrifying blade smashed in front of him, directly cutting the white bones in front of him. A terrifying demonic intent rippled out from the blade. Seeing that, Su Yun broke out in cold sweat. What was going on? He looked around, but there was no one around. That relief sculpture? He turned his head, only to see that on the other side of the metal door, the relief sculpture had long since returned to the metal door. It did not come down at all, and it was even more impossible for it to attack Su Yun. Then who did it? He held the death sword tightly and re-examined the statue in front of him. However, with just a glance, he was stunned. The saber was the one worn on the statue's waist. The statue did not move, but a strange demonic aura floated around its body. The demonic aura gathered at the side of the statue and quickly condensed into a pitch-black human figure. What the hell is this? Su Yun took a few steps back and stared with his eyes wide open. However, the pitch-black humanoid devil Chi did not seem to know how to speak. It directly grabbed the demonic blade on the ground and fiercely slashed towards Su Yun. Dong! Su Yun reacted as fast as lightning. He raised the death sword with one hand and blocked with the sword horizontally. The blade edge smashed onto the sword body, and the surging power immediately leaked out, causing the white bones on the ground to shatter, and the robe on Su Yun's body also fluttered from the strong wind. Damn it, why didn't that eight-toothed brat tell me that there was such a thing? Su Yun clenched his teeth. He had already decided to settle the score with Octagon Aniseed when he got out, but now was not the time to think about this. The demon shadow seemed to have already determined him as an enemy. If he did not defeat it, forget about taking the statues of the great demons. He might not even be able to keep his own life. The demon shadow's power was enormous, but after absorbing the dragon abyss bead, dispelling the evil chi, and digesting the supreme sect lord, Su Yun was no longer the same as before. Even though the opponent's strength was astonishing, he was not afraid, and with his other hand, he directly wiped the sword sheath, and a snow-white light appeared in his left hand. Lotus Star Sword. Instantly, with a low shout, a mind instructs in a second. Su Yun, who was fighting against the demon blade, instantly disappeared. When he appeared, he was already standing behind the demon shadow, and a sharp sword had already pierced through its chest. Although it was a demonic shadow, it seemed to be injured by these sword blades. When the death sword pierced through, the density of the demonic shadow immediately dimmed a bit. However, the demon shadow did not feel any pain at all, and as if it did not know that Su Yun had already given it a sword, in the next second, the demon shadow's blade flew towards Su Yun. Bang! The blade landed on his body, and he was sent flying, crashing into a wall in the distance. The violent force shook his body until it was buzzing. This was an attack that was launched against him with complete strength. There was not much devil chi left. If not for the imperial battle robe, this sword strike would have been enough to shatter Su Yun into pieces. He tried his best to stand up, feeling that his body was still a little numb. He raised his head to look at the demonic shadow, only to see it slowly walking to the side of the statue, reaching out its hand to caress the statue. In an instant, the originally dim body immediately turned black again. Strength recovery. Seeing that, Su Yun felt uncomfortable. Damn it, this guy just needs to touch the statue, and he'll be able to reach his peak state? In other words, if he wanted to defeat this guy, he had to prevent it from getting close to the statue? This was not a simple matter. With the recovery of the statue, the demon shadow was once again in high spirits, but it was not in a hurry to attack Su Yun. Instead, it took off a helmet from the statue and wore it, then rushed towards Su Yun. Seeing that, Su Yun was startled. Does this guy still know how to use the equipment of the great demons? Wouldn't that be like adding wings to a tiger, and his strength would become even more powerful? However, the situation was urgent, and there was no time to think. He immediately took action and faced the attack. Dong, 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 dong. Without the Imperial Battle Robe, it would be difficult for Su Yun to even receive a single slash. He retreated as he fought, his eyes focused on the blade of the demon shadow, observing the trajectory of the blade and studying its movements. Speed. After a moment, a light flashed across Su Yun's eyes. Although this fellow's blade was astonishing and his aura was ferocious, his speed was not fast. With his advantage in speed, it was enough to suppress him. Relying on his speed, Su Yun circled behind it and quickly slashed. The rain-like sharp blades directly smashed onto its body, but, although the armor only protected its chest and abdomen, the exposed areas were also covered by a layer of invisible barrier. The sharp blades were all blocked, and it was difficult to injure it by even half an inch. There was no solution at all. Su Yun gasped for breath. He let go of the sword and directly grabbed onto the demon shadow's two swords, activating the Imperial Battle Robe. The god power was like a ferocious beast's bloody mouth, directly enveloping it. Following that, all of the profound chi on the demon shadow's body was absorbed by Su Yun, filling up his previous consumption. The demon shadow could touch the statue to recover. If a normal person were to fight with it, they would probably be exhausted to death by the demon shadow's method. But Su Yun would not. It could replenish his condition. Su Yun could directly absorb it, and convert it into his own energy. Compared to consumption, Su Yun was naturally extremely happy. What made Su Yun even more happy was that the armor on the demon shadow's body could also be absorbed. The armor's power was absorbed by the god power, and it became weak. After a few sword strikes, there were clear sounds of breaking, and upon closer inspection, cracks had already appeared on the transparent area covered by the armor. It seemed like this armor was not an invincible existence. Su Yun took a deep breath, took advantage of the victory, and increased his attack. At the same time, he waved his hand, and thousands of swords rushed out from the sword sheath, arranging themselves around him and the demon shadow, transforming into a gigantic sword cage that surrounded the two of them. Clang! Finally, the demon shadow's armor was shattered. Su Yun took advantage of the situation and fiercely attacked its weakness. The demon shadow started to struggle again, and its body quickly dimmed. At this time, as long as he prevented it from touching the statue again, he would be able to defeat it. Su Yun raised his spirit to its peak. His nerves tensed up. His eyes stared at the demon shadow without blinking, waiting for its next move. The sharp sword still cunningly slashed at the demon shadow's body, causing the demon shadow's body to become even dimmer. It had to move, or it would lose. Finally, the demon shadow could not hold it in any longer. It raised its blade again, intending to shake itself out and return to the statue. Su Yun's eyes turned cold. He raised his sword and smashed towards its blade. The pitch-black death sword was like a black star in the daytime, attacking straight at him. You just defeated the shadow guard that I attached to the statue. This shadow guard has 1/10 of my strength. Not bad. You were able to easily defeat it. It can be seen that even if you met me, you would still be able to exchange a few blows. Your strength has obtained my approval. I will pass on everything I have left in this ancient tomb to you. I hope that you will be able to perfectly inherit them, and bring glory to the true devil sect." The voice from the statue came out again. Hearing that, Su-yun was excited. He immediately cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Senior. Take it." With that said, the blade, armor and space bag on the statue all flew out and flew towards Su-yun. They slowly floated in front of him, and finally landed neatly in front of him. This armor and blade are born from each other. If they leave, the power of the two magic treasures will be greatly reduced. The armor's defense is not bad, but it can't be considered outstanding. The most important thing is this blade. It has the effect of a restraining force. Restraining force? This junior is stupid, I don't know what it means. Restraining force is an increase in strength. This blade has a total of 12 levels, and because the effects of the force are mutual, when you use this blade, every time you swing it, you will use your own strength. At the same time, this blade will also be able to store your strength again and return it to your body, allowing you to have double the strength in your next attack. It's actually that magical. Su-yun was stunned. Doesn't that mean after I swing 12 times I can unleash 12 times the strength? Wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The voice from the statue came out. Ugh. Isn't that so? Of course not. The voice from the statue said in a deep voice, "The actual algorithm is not like this. When you swing your first blade, you store twice the strength, and when you swing your second blade, it is built on the foundation of twice the strength, which is 4 times, and after 4 times, it is 8 times, and after 8 times, it is 16 times. When you swing your 12th blade, the strength of your body is already 4,096 times. Do you understand?" Hearing that, Su-yun was immediately dumbstruck. In just 12 short slashes, his strength had increased by more than 4,000 times in an instant. How terrifying was that? With the Divine Wind Sword technique, he could unleash over 1,000 strikes in a single breath of time. Doubling it was simply a piece of cake. When your restraining force has already multiplied to more than 4,000 times, this blade will also reach its limit and will no longer give you any more power. If you do not use your blade within 50 breaths of time, your strength will recover. This blade cannot leave the armor, otherwise it will not be able to coexist. At most, it can only give you 2 times the increase in strength.